everybody. Welcome back to Deciphering My Experience. My name is Eric, and I am joined today by John from New Zealand. John is an experiencer from the past, I guess we would say, who had previously run the whole circuit and spread his story out there, and has since kind of, I guess, gone, back into the quiet life of retirement from disclosure. But I guess as of late, John and I have, well, as for a while, John and I have been communicating behind the scenes, and he's always been very informative and supportive, and I really appreciate everything that John has done. But he has spoken to me recently that he's willing to get, I guess, out of the shadows and talking a little bit more. So I really appreciate that, John, and welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. Good, thanks, sir.
You got it. So we were chatting a little bit before we got on live here today, and we kind of already did cover a whole bunch of stuff that you and I are familiar with. But maybe if we can just start out, like what inspired you to start coming and talking again?
Well, I was listening to a few fellas that have got a channel called Paranormal Now, and they're from Wales. And I just was one of about 10 that used to watch them, but they weren't sensationalized, and that they had a spirit box, and they were doing some really good, honest work, what I call honest work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started chatting backwards and forwards with them. And then Richard, one of the guys, Richard, started talking about his UFO experiences and that, and I was talking about mine, and then all of a sudden they wanted me to come on the show, and they only had they're only getting like 50 to a couple of hundred views, and I thought, oh, can't help. I mean, it can't hurt to help them,
Mm-hmm.
And they're the only ones I've really been on. No.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a bunch of the videos over there, and it is very informative. So if folks want to know more about John's history in greater depth, by all means, go check out Paranormal Now's YouTube channel.
Yeah, they got quite a few videos. They're having a break at the moment, but because of what's happening around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they'll be back.
Mm-hmm. So now,
and I told them when they come back, I'll be one of the first on, because they are good guys, And
how long ago was it, do you think, that you were on their show?
May.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think it was the last show, around about thereabouts. But I like helping the little guy. Like I've been in the Dog and Pony show of UFO disclosure, ET disclosure, abductee, contactee. I've had all the labels, all the names. For a little while there, I was New Zealand's most known abductee, and done quite a few radio shows. I was the first one to do one of these things. What do we call this?
Zoom?
Live chat.
Live chats?
Yeah, but before it was Zoom.
Okay.
With Kerry Cassidy on.
Oh, okay. Is that
Project Camelot?
Yep.
So that was only up for about 2 or 3 weeks because it was so bad that people were complaining that they couldn't hear what either of us was saying. So,
mm-hmm.
And I gave up, and that's when I started getting attacked. After I done Project Camelot.
Interesting.
I started getting target CI'd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They play, usually when I do a show, they play with me for a little bit.
I understand
and
that.
But I'm not sure. It could just be. I don't know what it is, but normally when I do a show, especially if I just do a show like this where we're talking,
mm-hmm.
nothing happens. But if I do any channeling, they whack me.
Oh, interesting.
And they whack me good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you were a channeler.
Only under hypnosis.
Okay, got you.
And Terry, the man that used to hypnotise me, the only other person that's ever hypnotised me is Mary Rodwell. We had a bit of a falling out because I became his showpiece, all with good intentions.
Right.
Like he's a nice guy, and we're still friends, but we don't do it anymore.
You didn't want to do the dog and pony show anymore.
I don't want to do it.
I got you. Especially if it's so taxing.
Yeah, it's very, very taxing. Yeah, it breaks you. It's not good, especially there being that I channel. They don't mean to hurt me, and they tell him never to put me under for longer than an hour.
Okay.
And he always goes, and he used to always go an hour and a half, hour and 45. And when I come out, I'd feel like it's been whacked with a baseball bat for half an hour. You know?
Yep. I'm actually in the market for someone that can do like what you're saying. I've dealt with some folks in certain capacities, but I've been warned. I use the term energy workers because everybody uses different terms, and I don't want to mislabel someone, so I use my own label. Energy workers, by many titles I've had, dabbled with, and they all basically say that it's my job to warn the next person to be extremely careful, that I'm the challenging part of the equation, that I cause them problems, which I find odd, that I'm hard to work with.
It's hard to know. Like, I think the best channeler to get is someone like, say, Alana Danan.
She just recently came on my radar. I see people talking to her recently. She's totally new to me.
She's totally genuine. She channels. She doesn't like to channel, but she's got a chip in her head. I got a chip in my head too.
Okay.
I know what she's talking about. That she channels the same race that Thor from the White House.
Valiant Thor?
Valiant Thor.
Yes.
That she channels that same race.
Oh, very interesting.
Something very similar happened to her. She was taken, but she was rescued straight away by the Thor guys, the Valiant Thor guys. I've seen probably about 2% of the videos because she's got quite a few out. But I was taken for a lot longer. I was gone for 30 years before they saved me. I wasn't coming back. I was taken as a slave.
Okay.
At 16, 17 years old. I was gone from the earth for 3 days. I woke up on the front veranda porch with just my undies on. The last thing I remembered was it was Friday night. I was 16. I remember going to bed about 10 o'clock on a Friday night. And I don't know if it was Sunday morning or Monday morning, my brother coming home, kicking me and waking me up because I was living at his place, my older brother. I was living with him. And telling me, because I used to go out and get on the piss a little bit back then. I suppose you've been on the piss all bloody weekend, you're giving me shit. And I said, no, I went to bed last night. And he said, I've been here most of the weekend and not been here, giving me shit. And the house, sorry, I have each. The house had deadlocks and the windows only opened like that much. They had the clips on them so you couldn't get in. And only two ways in or out, and they're both deadlocked. There are only two keys, my brother's key and my key. Right? We opened up, we went inside, and my keys were sitting on the key rack on the inside. I'd been gone for 3 days. I've lost 3 days, and for years it haunted me because I'd get flashes of really bad shit.
Did you, in your youth as a child, did you also have issues with sleepwalking, perchance?
No.
Okay, just curious.
Astral traveling.
Okay.
Far back as I can remember, I used to go with the underwater being underwater.
Oh wow.
Every night.
Okay.
every night.
Mm-hmm.
But the bugs used to come to the window as well.
Oh, wow.
And if you watch my video, WTF Scary, or go to John Walls on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
all my videos are there. And the one with me under hypnosis for 2020 New Zealand.
Was that Mary or Terry?
That was Terry.
Okay.
We done what actually happened is Terry. I wanted to find out about my missing time. Do you want me to go from the start?
Oh, go for it. Yeah, missing time is very interesting to me. I've had it on a couple occasions.
Timeline. Yeah. Timeline. I was born dead.
Okay. Stillbirth?
Apparently.
Uh-huh.
This is, I found this out. I can't 100%, but my dad said I was in the hospital for 3 months after I was born. He wouldn't tell me why. He was going to tell me why, but then he died before he could tell me. Before I could go back, to live in Australia, I live here, and he wanted to tell me, he was going to tell me personally. And I never got to see him before he died, so he didn't get to tell me, but I found out through hypnosis that I was born dead. And they brought me back.
Mm-hmm.
And then from about the age of 3, these bugs used to come to the window.
Mm-hmm.
Big, like we were 3, I'd say 4 foot, but they look huge to like a 3-4-year-old. And they used to take me and my brother into this, just like, what would you call it? It's like a silver room with nothing.
Could I bother you to elaborate on when you say like take, right? So you're a child. I imagine that when you're a kid and you see a 4-foot bug, that it might be a bit unnerving. So when you say take,
but nothing comes out.
Do they physically grab you and bring you somewhere, or is it like they suggest and you respond like a mental control?
No, not with the child. What's going on in your head, right? What I remember, and I remembered this all my life. This isn't from hypnosis. This is from real memory, right? I've now gone to hypnosis after the real memories. You know that it's the end.
Okay.
Basically.
Gotcha.
Okay. Screaming, kicking, screaming for the mother, screaming for the father. They grab you. It hurts. They pull you through the window. You feel yourself going through the window. Then all of a sudden there's a blinding flash and you're in this silver room.
Okay.
And all that's there is 2 tables. There was my brother and me. We were stuck at the table, couldn't get off the table. I could turn my head and my eyes a little bit, just sort of, so I could see him. And then they started doing procedures on us, and things had just appeared from out of nowhere. And they'd do all these procedures and put us back in our room. And I used to wake up screaming a little bit and that, and they used to say having bad nightmares. Don't worry about it, stuff like that. And a few times through my life, I had a few missing times, but no memories of the missing time up until on the 11th of the 11th, 1980, I was killed in a motorbike accident. I'd gone for about 5 minutes, and I got T-boned by a youth, and I was on my motorbike, and I had a lot of damage, and not that I knew at the time, but like the last thing I remember is seeing the car and going, excuse me, language. But then I was laying on the road, and I was looking at myself laying on the road, and I was sort of like
above yourself,
about that angle, like about that angle. Just watching myself go up to about chest height, and then all of a sudden the sky started to change, and I started raising up, and there was this light. It was like a golden light with white. And you have to, these things, you can't put it into human words.
Right.
It's like a million fireworks, sparkles going off that forms a single light.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, it's challenging to find new words for things that no one else has seen before, that you're not sharing an image with. It's very challenging. This is one of the stuff that I say, like, we all need to connect, because we all have these individual experiences, but we're making up our own words for it. So it's challenging, since we don't have a common vernacular, to then communicate our truths to other people that have never seen or experienced these things.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons it takes technology so long to get out. Because we have to learn the words, the vernacular, the meaning of the context of the word, and we have to have it in our vocabulary before our consciousness will let it come to the fore. And this is how we're great manifestors, and this is how the manifestation works.
People, it takes a long time for us to absorb a truth that's right in front of our face sometimes. I heard this great story. I forget where I heard it from, but I think it was a comedian, I think, was saying it. It was like a joke, but truth. And he was saying, like, back when he was an old timer, it might have been like George Burns or something, one of these classic comedians. But he was saying that back in the day when cars came out, this is how ignorant people were. He says he remembers when they got a car, and him and his brother were going to go out on a Friday night. And his mom, being naive, but a mom, opens the kitchen doors. They're about to pull out of the driveway. And she goes, you boys make sure you put gas in that car. I don't want you driving around all night long with no gas in it. You'll wreck the motor.
Yeah.
She's close to right. She's being a mom, but she's also showing her inability to understand the world around her.
That's exactly where we are with UFOs and ETs today.
Correct.
The collective.
Yep.
There's people that know more, there's people that know less, but the collective itself is about there. Don't forget to put gas in the UFO, otherwise you won't get Jupiter. You know what I mean? But after the couple where I sort of can't remember that I know now, they were getting me ready, and I was being taken up and being taught like my son is, but my son's being taught by the good guys, not the bad guys. I was being taught by the bad guys, so I've known bad and I've known good. I've done bad and I've done good. I'll tell you a story a bit later about being called Planet Killer. Remind me of that one.
Okay.
I may forget about it. And it wasn't until after I had my near-death experience, right? And that's where I finished off at, so we'll go back to there, right? Okay. Just to the left of this beautiful tunnel that I wanted to go up was an old man in a white robe, big long beard, long hair, but wasn't religious.
Okay.
Because I'm not religious, right? I'm spiritual. Was like a Methuselah type character, a wise old man, really old, really wise. It was me.
Nice.
I found
Here's your older self.
One of my higher selves.
I'm really happy to hear that, because I think I met an older version of myself when I was younger.
Everybody has.
Nice.
Everybody has met
a
higher, older version of themselves. They just don't remember. Yeah.
I've never heard anybody else say that, John. Thank you for stating that.
You do it all the time. It's called going out of your body. Everybody on this earth goes out of body every time they sleep. They just don't remember.
That is a very bold statement, John, and I'm glad to hear you say that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the thing comes in that I was telling you about earlier.
That's what I'm familiar with as well from Itzhak Bentov's book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum. He suggests that as well, that we have these different planes and these different dimensions, and just like you said, we're awake when we're here, and when this physical body rests, our consciousness is not limited to remain at the resting body.
Well, that's good, but it's not quite right.
Okay.
Okay, when we're awake, right, we're only here 178 of a second every second.
Say that again.
170. Well, sorry, no, that's not right. We vibrate
Mm-hmm.
at 178,000 times per second.
Okay.
Each oscillation, right? Each oscillation,
Uh-huh.
right,
Okay.
is jumping between density.
Okay. Would
Density.
would this
Okay.
be
So
similar to how they describe electron function, like coming and going?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. So we feel and seem solid, but we're like a hologram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're jumping in and out.
Mm-hmm.
170. I think it's 173.
Mm-hmm.
Might be 176. It's only a couple thousand.
Makes total sense. Makes total
Fact
sense.
checkers. Yeah, 170. Yeah, 178. No, I think, yeah, 178,000. Sorry, it is 178,000 times a second, and we're going to different densities all the time. Boom, 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 boom.
This makes me think of like an LED circuit board. Are you familiar with LED lights and how they function?
Yeah.
So an LED light, the savings of an LED light, most people don't realize this, is because it's off 50% of the time. But the frequency at which it's going, we perceive it as being a constant on. But it's actually shutting off constantly, and the light emitting diode is actually only emitting light when the power is shut off.
Yeah.
When it
well,
comes
that's
back,
the basic. That's putting it. This is why it's good talking to you, because you've got a grasp on this sort of stuff. And I know from you watching you and talking to you. That is the most basic of what we are.
it seems that way. Yeah.
We're electrical beings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the electricity makes the flesh, makes the working current. Basically.
In a way, it's almost like we could say it's almost like where is real as characters in a television screen discussing their reality. They're electrical, but yet in that aspect, in that paradigm, they're in an environment. So it's almost like you and I are a TV show for some other reality.
I haven't.
That's why all you guys always say good show.
Yeah, but we'll get back to this old man.
Yep.
This old man, he said, "John, you're very broken." He said, "You can come, or you can go back. But if you go back, I'm paraphrasing because it was such a long time ago, and the hypnosis will get it perfect. But I'm getting old now. I've had so many drugs and drunk so much piss, alcohol, and partied so hard in my life that my brain, and that's one of the reasons I retired as well, because I'm nearly 60 now, and I'm get a little bit of brain fog, and as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me from 16 to 60, all my life actually, to get to where I am now, to know what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I know now for today's humans is totally useless. It's for the up and coming human, it's a wealth of knowledge, and it's
priceless for the next generation.
Yeah, it's worth lifetimes of karma. Because this stuff's not worth money. Okay?
Right.
I knew this when I started this. This isn't worth a cent. I haven't made a cent of it. It's costed me money. All my life, it's always costed me money. Right? I've never made 1 cent off this.
To me, it's the moral thing to do. It's the truth, and the people deserve to have the truth, especially when we eventually learn and the masses learn how much intention was applied to blind them from the truth. That's to me the real sin of this all. And where it's not about the money, it's about the morality. And I don't like watching bad people take advantage of good people. And I believe most of the people on the planet are good, and there's a fistful of bad people ruining it for us.
Yeah, it is. We were supposed to go to a level 1 civilization in the 1930s.
In 92, you said?
In 1930.
Oh, 1930?
32.
Okay.
It was the Rothschilds and the Cabal that stuffed that up.
Okay.
That was a big fight against them.
Okay.
And
I can follow
the,
that.
microgrades and a few others. But we lost that one. And there've been, we're just about hitting another point now. Excuse me for a second.
Do what you got to do, John. Yeah, that was news to me that 1932 was when we were supposed to go to that direction.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. I mean, even looking at historically, all the stuff that changed at that time period.
Well, the first med bed was made in 1935, if I remember correctly.
News to me as well.
By Tesla, by Nikola Tesla.
Oh, interesting.
Ask you might know about that. Not Mellon.
Warner.
John Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Ask John Warner about that one.
Okay.
Because he might have some insight into the real. Sorry.
It's very possible.
The real Tesla medbed. The real one. Yeah. The one we got now is better. But it's not been rolled out yet. But still wait to see. It's coming soon.
Yeah, I've met some
but
interesting folks. Go ahead.
No, sorry. This guy, he told me that I was really broken. Now, because of karma reasons, he could fix all my internal injuries that were killing me, or that were keeping me dead, but he couldn't fix me broken bones. Because that would go against the karma that I'd occurred up until that stage, and a whole heap of other stuff that meant I had to come back broken.
Right, so he could like save your life, but not the pain, so to say. Like
I had to go through the pain. Yeah, and I had to go through and endure the addiction part of morphine and coming off it and going through the hell of coming off copious amounts of morphine. That's hell. That lasted about 2 months of total just and they commented on how I had so few injuries to someone that had been hit so hard. I was hit at 100 kilometers an hour straight in the side.
Wow. I definitely know people that have died from less.
That's my leg.
Yeah, nice little scar there.
Yeah, and all bent and broken. I was supposed to take that off, and it didn't happen. But I just finished recovering. I just got off all the drugs. I just started getting my life back to normal. It was 18 months. Probably 18 months later, I was fully healed, but this was, so I was walking again. So that was about 6 months, 6 or 7 months. And I was sitting in bed. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. 10 to 10 in the morning. And I felt this really cold chill. It was summertime, so it was warm. And I felt a presence in the room. I looked up, and there was my mother. My mother died when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And my mother was standing in the door, and she was trying to pull me out of my body. And I'm going, no, I don't die. I don't want to come. I thought I was dying. And then I tried to scream, and as I screamed, I sort of snapped back and back into reality, and the 11 o'clock news was starting. So I was gone for an hour and 10 minutes. Under hypnosis, I found out that's the first time that the bad guys came and took me.
Okay.
Like, to get me ready to become a slave. And they done some shit to me. And then it was only about 6 weeks later, it was that Friday night I told you I went to bed. I woke up with pajamas on. I woke up on the veranda at 6 o'clock in the morning with my brother kicking me in the bum, asking me where I've been, and said I've been gone for 3 days. And I said, last thing I remember was going to bed. When we went inside, deadlocked house, only 2 keys. He had his key, my key was inside. There's no way I could have got outside. We couldn't open the windows. There was no way out except out the doors. Because none of the windows opened more than 6 inches.
Mm-hmm.
They had locks on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that. And then a few funny things started to happen, and I started seeing things. And Rotorua, I moved to New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And a few funny things happened. Like one night, a big light shone. We were on in a cul-de-sac, and where the bedroom was, there was no way a light could shine in the room. And this big light shone in the room when neighbours were in daylight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Which can't happen from outside the room, right?
no. And then I remember pain being taken from the room and being morning.
And being what?
And being morning. Morning time. That was the first New Zealand one.
Oh.
But my Australian one, when they took me, under hypnosis, I think that was the one with Mary. I'm sure that was the one with Mary Rodwell.
Mm-hmm.
We found out that the Greys, I'm trying to think of it, the Mitra Greys had taken me and sold me off as a slave to the best. It's not the right word, but the best word I can think of is Carillion.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what they were. We never seen them, but I was with a whole heap of different other races, and we were all slaves. And I was put, because all my past lives have been either working with sick people or dead people.
Mm-hmm.
One of my past lives, I was a llama up on the hill in Tibet, and I sent the dead onto the next plane back in the time when we could see the difference in the planes.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the planes, I could see where they needed to go in the plane, so that's where I put them. I was a mid, what do you call it, middleman?
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably call it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I was supposed to be there for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the celestials, the light beings, come grab me and brought me back and debriefed me, took me, showed me my whole life, and then put soul codes, what they call soul codes, inside me,
Mm-hmm.
to be dished out and given out at the time of the great event. Because, and this is what we talk about with paranormal now, because they're in touch with the Council of Nine.
Oh, interesting.
Or the Council of 12, all right? Through their spirit box. And I said something to them that took them off guard because they didn't think anybody else knew. And what happened was around the time of the end of Atlantis, start of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
there was a war between the council, and the bad guys won. And they were letting in unviable souls, because that's what the Council of 12's job is, to make sure that your soul's pure enough or ready enough to come down to this plane, so you don't turn into a bad villain like Swab.
Like Dick Cheney?
Yeah, that sort of thing. And this is why this generation is, because it's that same, because once it gets in the cycle, they keep recycling it.
Okay.
Like your soul just keeps recycling. I've done over 10,000 incarnations.
Mm-hmm.
I was here. This is all from under hypnosis, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I was on the science team to make the water for the earth when they were making the earth.
Nice.
That's how far back I apparently go.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I'm going to be here to see the end of the creation.
You're like on the Alpha and
So,
Omega team.
don't know. I don't know.
I always
But
joke around.
I've been,
I always joke around since
yeah,
I have a plumbing history that
yeah,
God was a plumber, and it says it right in the book. Because
yeah.
in the beginning they said there's just the waters, and the word went out across the waters. So God was working with water. God's a plumber.
Yeah, 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 exactly. That's funny.
I have a curiosity. I want to interject just to, maybe make a connection with some of our lives and learnings, and maybe to help other people. In your life experience, your profession has you working around death a lot, more than the average person. In my life experience, I've had an abnormal experience in as so far. There was a time in my life where I noticed that I was around people when they were dying. I would show up to accident scenes. I just would happen to be the first person. This was a very common theme in my life, to the point where it became so common that I started tracking and counting, because I was like, wow, this is a lot of times that this happens. And then it got to the point where it happened so much that I completely lost count. I think I have been alongside 40 some odd folks, I would say, when they took their last breath. And I would say that over the course of my life, that's one of the cumulatively most profound things. And it's weird to me to even say it now in hindsight, but to be there for all of those people was taxing and educational. Just to learn what people are like at that moment. And I can honestly say that I know that I helped comfort them. And I've had a lot of people say that that was part of a mission, so to say. I've had people give me titles for this role. I don't like the term. They use the term reaper, but they say it kindly. I don't like the term. But they basically say that somebody has to help these people at that last moment to help them transition. And
so they don't get stuck in the lower hole. Yeah.
I don't know all the answers. This is what people are telling me, but what I can suggest is that all I know from my experience is that when I came across these people, this is the look of death. It's called confusion. Yeah. When people are dying, they look confused. They're completely confused. They don't know what they just did wrong. Like a second ago, everything was good. And then they don't, now all of a sudden they're actively dying and they don't know what's going on. And it just takes a few minutes to calm them down and, I guess, help them understand. And then they pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a misconception about reapers and banshees.
Is that a term that you've heard of before? Reaper?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm unfamiliar with this reaper and banshee thing.
Well, they've been given a bad name through Christianity. They're basically guides.
I was raised Christian, so I get all the biases that come with it. I'm not an adherent, but I respect that I was programmed.
I was when my mum died, I was put in the Bernardo's home. We won't go into that. That's the whole other story. And I had to go to church there. Mm-hmm. And I was 9 years old, and I was kicked out of Sunday school for saying that I think Jesus was an ET, because if he came down on a spaceship, or if an ET came down on a spaceship back in the year zero, say, and ETs walked out, would people not be bowing to them, thinking they're God, especially if they were glowing? You know what I mean?
I do. I was actually thinking that thought before when you said that you're gone for 3 days and came back, and I was like, well, that's kind of Christ-like. I wonder if Jesus just got abducted.
Yeah, well, maybe. But something I was told in my hypnosis, right? If you or I, from the year 2020, say last year, right, went back to year 0,
Mhm.
right? So the day after BC, right?
Mhm.
We'd appear to them as light shining beings. We've evolved that much.
Whoa. Huh.
Our vibration has raised that much,
Okay.
and it doesn't need to raise much. So, and if someone from, say, 2,000 years in our future comes to us,
Mhm.
we might see the same, but we might not, because once we get to a certain vibration, as I said about this vibration,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Say we get to 300,000 times a second vibrating in and out, right? Which isn't hard, and it can come quick. Okay, it can happen like that, or it can take a year or two, or it can take 10 years.
Mhm.
It's up to us, right? It's up to the collective human consciousness, right? We go into a whole new realm where light beings to us in third dimension, third density, yeah,
Mhm.
looks like very light and very shiny, like I was telling you about the celestials.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, they start gaining form, and you see them in form, not in light, like I'm seeing the celestials now. When I first seen them, all they were was this light with rainbow liquid rainbow light running through them, golden light with liquid rainbow light running through them. But by the time they got closer and closer and closer over a period of time, we got used to their energy, otherwise they would have killed me. And scattered my spirit. Would have come back, but it would have taken a long time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Your spirit or your soul never dies. Okay? It's always been, always will be. But what can happen to it, and some of these really bad ETs have the technology to do it, is to scatter your soul.
Hmm.
Okay? And it can take up to 1,000,000 years or even longer to form back together to become you again.
Wowzers. I haven't heard anything like that before either. Scattering
Oh,
of the soul. Interesting.
the physicists know.
Okay.
The big scientists, like the brain drain
Mhm.
of the 50s, yeah?
Mhm.
We were colonizing planets left and right. It weren't just to go to Mars. There's, I think it's 7, 3 planets and 4 more moons, or 7 more moons and 3 more planets that they're not even letting us know about that's in our solar system.
I remember
Um,
discussing with the scientists at South Pole Station the total amount of planets in the solar system, and it seems to be very debatable.
yeah, like there's that one that comes over, and they keep saying it's Nabaru from the South Pole, and you see it come over like that,
Mhm.
and it's only one time of the year, or one time every so many years it comes in through, right? That planet's not supposed to be there, and it's so close. Now, what's that one?
Mhm.
You know, I've seen it. I've seen it a few times on videos from Newmar
Station.
Station. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's something not right. And you know how you've got your earthers, you've got your flat earthers,
Mhm.
you've got. I can tell you, you know what it is. You know what we're on? We're on a spaceship. Earth is a laboratory breeding ground spaceship, and we're going from A to B.
Mhm.
And we're nearly at B. We're going through a black hole. That's why we're going from the dark universe, into the light universe. And this is why everything's bubbling up. All the bad things are coming up
Okay.
because we're going from the dark into the light. And when we hit the light, it's going to be a whole new world, and it's going to happen very quick.
Cool.
And we're close.
I'm
We're not,
digging the
we're
sounds
not
of that,
far away.
John.
Yeah. You will know it's really close when we get free energy, med beds, and we start uniting as one race.
Oh, I love the sounds of that. I'm very much a we the
That,
people person. I don't like the
yeah,
machinations of division in our society.
no, I don't.
All of the
I don't.
problems that we have are manufactured by piss poor management.
Racism around the world these days is mostly just fear.
It's totally manufactured
Um,
racism.
manufactured.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's if we didn't have televisions, we wouldn't have racism. It's just that simple.
that's right.
You know.
Well, it's manufactured for a reason because a
Mhm.
lot of these beings, right? A lot of these humans
Mhm.
aren't even. Well, we're not human. We're not a race.
Mhm.
We're not actually a race. If you listen to like Joshua, I forgot his channel, because I'm a bit cross-contaminated, but it's also helped me remember stuff as well. And they come up with stuff that I get in my I've got my hypnosis from the past. Like I've had quite a few hypnosis all from the same fella, except for one, which was Mary, which confirmed everything that Terry had been doing,
Mhm.
right? Um, because of the Council 12 Wars, or the Council 9, whatever you want to call them, and them letting in these souls that were unworthy, they're the ones causing all the trouble now. They're Draco souls, they're Mitra souls, they're Grey souls, you know, and a few other beings. The Orange, they're not a very, you know, like there's a couple of alright Orange, but most of them are service to self. And I don't go evil, good, I go service to self, service to others, because that's basically all it is,
Mhm.
right? What is good for you is not necessarily good for another race.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Their good might be our evil,
Understood.
but it's all perception.
That's
You,
a
you've
lot of
got
the
to get
stuff.
rid of the
A lot of the stuff Tony
perception.
Rodriguez talks about is right along that. He's like, we have to understand that our morality is our morality.
Our
It
yeah,
is not.
and
It is. It
yeah,
can't be
our
considered similar.
timeline. Yeah, our timeline and our way of seeing time is our timeline and our way of seeing time.
Mhm.
We have a filter. Every human has a filter that was put there by the Draco
Hmm.
to make us see this world the way they want us to see it, not the way it really is.
Interesting.
And it's not what you think.
Mhm.
I've seen it.
It's very interesting. It's almost like, in a way, I imagine it would be like, let's imagine reality was like when you're in a movie theater and you have the 3D glasses on and you're seeing reality. But imagine if some Draco comes in and takes the glasses off, and now you're forced to see it the way that they want you to see it, and it's not right.
Yeah.
It's not the
Well,
truth.
you know about sentient black goo?
Black goo?
Sentient black goo.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what it is. A big ball of sentient black goo, and we're just like these worm things inside it.
Hmm.
Having a life, and we go back. That's what I saw. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's my truth.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was another world I was seeing. But under hypnosis, I saw this place as a spaceship. On the outside is black goo, and we're the maintenance crew.
Wowzers.
Basically.
I can follow that. Yeah, like it's almost like, yeah,
But
we're maintaining this arc, so to say, as it's ripping through the cosmos towards point B, like you mentioned. And yeah, I guess we'll find out if we get a bonus when we get to the end of the road, I guess, huh? Or if we're getting sacked.
yeah, exactly. And what I was saying about these codes they put in me,
Mhm.
right? These aren't for the normal people like, say, me, you, because you're onto it and aware, and you're service to others.
Mhm.
So you've got a ticket automatically, right? It's to the what they call regenerate that they let in at the end of Atlantis
Mhm.
and the start of Egypt,
Lemuria.
and Samaria, and that,
Okay, gotcha.
right? Because they've been recycling. Now, these soul codes, I'm not the only one with them. There's millions of us around the earth, right? Now, if I die, my soul codes will go to someone else, or I may even have more soul codes now because someone else has died.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yep, you're a
There's
carrier.
millions of us around the world, and I don't feel them coming in, and I won't feel them going out.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right?
There are many times where I have felt that I am certainly some sort of a repository of some information.
We all are.
Yep.
We all are. All the viables are.
Mhm.
Right? Now, when I had the hypnosis with Mary, I seen all these people screaming, going back into the darkness. And I started blubbering my eyes out. I said, I can't help you. I can't help you. And a voice came in. The guide's voice came in and said, "You cannot help them. It's not their time yet. Their turn is coming." And that's when I found out with soul codes and things. What I found out is like these people that have done these 10, 20, 30,000 lives, right? Some of them have gained enough points, even though they weren't viable when they came in, to be viable now.
Okay.
But they still don't have a soul code. Does that make sense? So these soul codes go to the ones who are viable now, that came in not viable.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they've progressed.
Yeah. They've progressed. Yeah. Where you'd be amazed how many happen.
Fair enough. But I believe, I guess, like the harmony of the cosmos would be that you could go up the ladder or down the ladder depending on your efforts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can come in with all good intentions, and then it turns to shit for you, and you're never allowed back down there again, even though it is a prison planet.
Yeah, because I imagine there are folks that were less viable that through attrition, practice, whatever you want to call it, became viable. And I imagine that there are folks that were viable, but then degraded by, floundering on the path.
Yeah, and they won't make it through the final portal. The final portal from the portal from this giant black hole we're going through, right? It's the whole universe. It's not just about us. Because I used to think it was the galaxy, but now I'm thinking it's the whole universe. And I can tell you how that works as well. Because I told Nathan Harriman.
I know him. I know of him.
Yeah. I told him about it, and he agreed with me. And then he wrote a paper about it. And I told him, I said, I don't want to know. And he said he was already working on something like that. Back in the old YouTube days when I used to, not YouTube, what are they?
Which
Facebook.
One? Facebook,
So
gotcha.
That was over 10 years ago. That was 10, 15 years ago. And to come out of this black hole we're in, we have to pass through a last portal, which will get rid of any negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the universe has gone through already. Quite a lot of it. But it does this. You know what I mean? So a lot of the universe is in the event horizon.
Okay.
It's the best way to put it so people can understand it. And we compress. And that's what we're doing now. We're compressing. And once we're all in the event horizon, it shoots out the other side really quick.
Okay. I can follow that.
That's how it works. Now,
I think of it in my brain, I'm thinking like a capacitor. It's like you're building it up, you got a spot, and then boom, then you blow out.
Yeah, same thing. Now, it's the same thing with why we don't crash into the side.
Why we don't crash into the side?
The side of the black hole.
Okay.
And get crushed. It's all magnetism. Right? Right, we've got new technology that's been around for a long, long, long time. David Adair was the first one to fix it, where you put a nuclear explosion inside a magnetic force field. Right? That nuclear explosion sits in there and it doesn't hit the sides, but it wobbles. Okay? And it always wobbles the same way, at the same rate, at the same velocity. This is why we've got human resonance. Okay? Now, have you heard of the Mandelbrot set?
Absolutely.
And the Mandelbrot set and the Fibonacci sequence?
Yes, sir.
They all come into play because we're in a black hole.
I can follow that
Okay?
math, actually. This is
The
this is
Fibonacci
fractal
sequence.
math, and this is complex for a lot of people, but I follow you. So the
Yeah,
Mandelbrot set and fractals teach us that you can have a defined volume surrounded by an unending perimeter.
yeah,
You're going to have to think about
exactly.
that one, folks, and smoke a joint on that one for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, after. But, but what actually happens is the Fibonacci sequence is basically the universe, or even if it is a galaxy, I'm not 100% sure on that,
Hmm.
right? But I know it's got to do with a big sector.
Hmm.
So I reckon because there's more than one universe, right? And what happens is as it's going around, right? It's not just going around, it's going and it's causing 369, 369, 369, 369. As it's going forward, right,
Hmm.
it's, it's causing the Mandelbrot set. It just goes into itself, a hologram, into itself, into itself, into itself. You can pick any part of it and then go into that, and it does the same thing. And that's us going forward through the wormhole.
Wow.
And Nassim Haramein was fascinated by that.
Hmm.
I'm sure he wrote a paper on it.
Yeah.
And I gave that to him probably 15 years ago.
Hmm.
But that's what's happening with it.
I'm
But
intrigued by
I
that stuff
probably,
because I study a lot of things, and if you look on our planet, you can see that humanity has been in the practice of dealing with the measurements of circles in the formula of pi. Which, if we look at that
always.
right there, it's right there again. So you can know the volume of a sphere or a circle. It's very calculable. But we have the formula pi because we can't measure the circumference.
Yeah,
We have to come up with a substitute answer, and that's the formula of pi. So that's
yeah,
similar to the Mandelbrot set, is we have a defined volume and an undefined perimeter,
yeah.
which is almost like ourselves in a way. We have like a defined volume, like that's our spirit in a way, defined being a loose term, but
But,
then an undefined volume like this around us, that we can just go infinitely in any direction theoretically.
yeah. And then you've got your matter antimatter.
Hmm.
Okay. Now we need antimatter to live. We don't just live on matter. Okay.
Interesting.
Antimatter is what keeps us ticking. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm following the gist. My brain was actually thinking for a second. Is it possible our bodies are matter and our spirits are antimatter?
Gotcha. Is it possible our bodies are the magnetic field around the outside of the God spark inside us?
Oh, the God spark being the power source and our bodies being the screen, in a way.
Do you know that scientists have proved that we never ever touch anything?
Yes, I do.
Our bodies physically never touch anything.
Yep.
There is, it's about, what is it, 200, 200 million of of a, of an inch. I'll say inch, but I think it's millimeter.
Yep.
Gap, always. And you know that when you cut yourself, that sharpness was because the atoms on the edge of a knife are less than the atoms on what it's cutting, thinner than the atoms. And when it cuts through the force field, not the skin, and that's what rips that cuts open the skin. I've been given all this stuff, but it just sits in the back of my head and might come out like now, like.
That's a great point because
And a
I've
lot of
seen
people aren't gonna,
I've seen
a lot
folks
of people
talk
aren't
about
gonna
this
get it.
before, and they give the example of a basketball, and they talk about, hey, when you think you're bouncing the ball off the floor, it never really hits the floor. It has that distance that you maintain, and it comes back up, right? But you're right. So I never thought about that. How can we cut ourselves? So that was really interesting.
Yeah, or burn yourself,
Hmm.
or why do why are certain animals so attracted to us, yet other animals are so repelled by us?
Good
You know,
point.
it's all vibration, it's all frequency. We're all vibration, we're all frequency.
Hmm.
When you die, it's not the end. I've saved so many people
Hmm.
from the lower fourth density.
Hmm.
I've lost count.
That's one of the comforting statements.
Gateway and Lifeline program.
I'm paraphrasing because it's been a long time too, but oftentimes when I was at people's sides when they were passing, I would kind of be joking with them that there's no reason you want to stay here. You're so going to a better place. You know, like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, like, you got this. You're good. You're totally going to a better place. Enjoy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I go out of my body so much and have been in the other world so much. I walk into worlds that I have my own planet. It's my planet. I own it.
Good on you, John. I've never heard anyone say that before. That's wild.
I have
okay.
I have other beings there. My ex-wife is there. She's a 12-foot tall ET, beautiful, beautiful, Asian-looking, eyes like bloody dinner sauces. And she runs the hospital there. And her and her husband. And the first time when I pulled them in and I built the hospital, she built the hospital with me and she brought her husband in. And her husband was about 3 feet taller than her, and I thought he was going to kill me. He gave me this big hug. And he said, "Oh, I've heard so much about you." I said, "Oh, yeah, love you. Thank you for this opportunity." And yeah, and they brought a whole heap of people there, and I brought other people there, and they brought a whole heap of people there. The hospital is not a hospital. It's like when you die, right? You take a lot of baggage with you. Not all of it, but a lot of anything you haven't. It's like karma, right? You take all of the things you haven't forgiven yourself for.
Yeah, the stuff you haven't processed yet.
Yeah, haven't processed yet. It's a processing center, right? And you can go the quick way or you can go the slow way. You can rest up for a couple of months to a couple of years in the hospital bed, what feels like it's not that long. Or you can get the quick fix, which is really hurt, but at the end of the day, you're walking out the door and you're going to check out your new world or go to another world from there. But you pick that world to start with because you always go, when you die, you go to where your vibration
resonates.
Resonates, yeah. And this is how I got to make this place. So I get told under hypnosis. Right? Because I got told under hypnosis, we like your world. This is by the other entities. You've done a beautiful job, and this is where you'll be going for a while when you pass. Because it's a beautiful, wonderful world. Most of my family's there. Some of my family's not. A lot of my friends are there. Some aren't. I've lost a lot of friends. And yeah, it's got like your hospital along the beach, up in the hill. There's, how would you put it? No one gets sick. You don't need to eat. You don't grow any food. We manifest it. When you're there, it's like a mini version of where we're going, but not as technologically, because it's more, it's disincarnated souls that are there, right? Because when you go somewhere out of body, you go as a disincarnated soul, but you've still got that life spark in you, and they can see it.
Okay.
The disincarnated souls can see your life spark. That's like when you go through the lower fourth density. When you go through the lower fourth density, the first couple of times you go out of your body, you've got all these beings trying to grab at you because they can see the negativity in you.
Okay.
Right? And they can see your fear, and they latch onto negativity and fear. Okay? When they latch onto the negativity and fear, and they start leeching it, they also leech the love out of it. Okay? So what you got to do is you got to just stay still. I learned this from Monroe, right? You just stay still and just project pure, unconditional love. And they just start screaming like banshees, which banshee is a captured word. right? The same as Reaper. It's a captured word by
Okay.
by the religious organisations. They are all they are is guides to help you along to your next step of your journey. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And once you just let go, you just shoot straight up to to roughly later fourth, early fifth density, that's where most of the dead go.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's areas within that. There's 27 what there's 27 focuses or 27 areas that you can go to. The highest one's 27, and that's where I've got my planet, small planet, moon-sized planet. Yeah, it's not that big.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, John. I don't even have a planet.
Yeah. I'm just one of the things that pisses me off is I set the intention to go there because even after doing all these years, all it takes is another thought from the side to kick you off somewhere else or to give you another job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want me to talk about the Celestials?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And how what they've been doing in my life.
Absolutely.
Because I feel, I don't know why, it broke me for 3 months, nearly 3 months. I was crying. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was depressed. Not because it was a bad experience. It was like, if you heard of Alex Collier,
Mm-hmm.
the UFO contactee.
Yep.
Right? When the Arcturians took him for a couple of months. And when they brought him back, he didn't want to get off the ship. They had to kick him off the ship, and he was crying and pleading, and it broke him.
Mm-hmm.
It broke him bad.
Interesting.
Yeah? And that's what it is. Because he didn't want to come back. It was so beautiful there, because they're from the fifth density, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same with these Celestials. That's why I'm wondering if they actually are curious. Or someone of that ilk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just call it Celestials because it fits me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
And I felt like I was kicked out of paradise. I really did. I really wanted to die because they told me, they said, there's nothing you can do to get you back in except death.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. What happened is over.
And it sounds almost in my brain, it sounds like, in a way, like they're making you serve a penance or something. You know, like they're saying the only way for you to get back is for you to go live, which seems like a punishment in a way. If you then get to go back after said penance, like it's just peculiar to me.
What if I was a celestial before I came down?
And that's what I'm wondering. Like maybe you did something and that the penalty was life. Go experience that before you come back.
Yes.
And I could be wrong.
Yeah. I think we all come down for a holiday. Celestials. There's always celestials here on holiday. It's like 2 days for it. 2, 3 day, 4 day holiday is a lifetime. All depends how long you want to live. You want to live 50 years? It's a 2 day holiday. You want to live 100 years? It's a 4 day holiday.
I can follow that.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Now, yeah.
I've had a friend of mine suggest to me. He says, "What if?" He goes, "What if this game of life, right? You know, like we're here trying to make video games constantly, make them more realistic. You know, ultimately, the most realistic game you could have would be so immersive that you have to live your whole damn life in it. You know." And he said, "What if?" He goes, "What if it turns out that when we die here, we just wake up in some intergalactic arcade?" And we turn to each other and say, "Hey, do you want to play Earth again? That was a fun game. It's so immersive. It takes a whole life to get through the game." And maybe, like you said, maybe we're just celestials in an arcade and you chose to play Earthling for a while. Like you said, it's like a holiday. That's wild.
Well, I was thinking about this way before I found Geisha.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Geisha?
Negative.
I forget her channel. She channel. No, it's not coming to me. But she was saying about the Targetans and the Palladians use immersion pods, and they put their soul inside a human being, and live a life. You know, they come down as a baby, and they'll live a life, and they keep reporting back up to the ship. But all that time, they're in the immersion pod, and the immersion pod keeps them clean, keeps them fed, keeps them fit, with electrical stimulation and nutrition, and getting rid of the bodily fluids and all that sort of stuff. You go into a suspended animation type thing, and then when you finish and you die, you wake back up in the immersion pod. And that, geez, I think there's a name at the moment. But you might want to have a look at a couple of hers, because she is, how would you put it? I think she's got it the closest of anybody that I've been talking about for a long time.
Excuse me.
But what I think's happened with me is, because what can happen, what can actually happen is you don't just come down for one lifetime. You make an agreement to come down for a certain amount of lifetimes. My job might be to make sure that when a celestial comes down, that they make it back home.
Yeah,
you know
following
what I mean?
the timetables that you're presenting, like, so I'm imagining that a celestial could be topside, so to say, and like you said earlier, a life may only be 2 days in their experience. So they might go on, let's say they sign up for a 3-month holiday in their perspective, but then they go to Earth, and that would be many, many, many lifetimes, like you just suggested, and that might be what the mission may require. Does that sound right?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm following you then.
But when their time's up, well, this is what I was getting to. This is why they used me, because I've been. They told me I was upgraded, okay, and now I only work on the big jobs. They come to me and ask me, did I want to do a plum assignment? And they said they got a job for me. Do I want to do it? And I said no, because I was real tired. Cosmic Agency is the name of the Gosha people, the people that talk to the Targetans. Cosmic Agency. And wait, I'll come back to this. Right. No, what was I talking about? Yeah.
We were on Cosmic Agency and missions. And
yeah. See, at the end of say they want to come down for 6 months, right? And 2 days is a lifetime for them. Well, yeah, that's a few thousand lifetimes, right? They forget that they're a celestial, so they need to be reminded. Not all of them, just some of them.
Yeah, this seems to be a recurring theme that I'm hearing in so many different ways of saying it. That yes, these higher beings come here and forget.
Yeah, they do. They do, especially if they do like longer than say 1,000 lifetimes. Some of them go bad. Then some of them turn bad. When they turn bad, they're the ones you can't stop. The ones that won't get busted. The ones that they can't kill, even though they try and kill them.
But now, if it's let's I want to backtrack. So let's say I'm a celestial, and I chose the 3 months to come here, which is many lifetimes. But in the process of my many lifetimes here, I now forget. I still get to go back at the end, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there are there exceptions to that? Like, does it matter if I came here and then halfway through I forget, and then start screwing things up? Do I still get to go back, or is it like?
Yeah, you get to go back, but you might get extracted.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The job I was given, right? It was in the afterlife. But this celestial had done all of their time
Okay.
that they allotted themselves. And they were sitting in the afterlife, a special part of the afterlife, of course, because they're celestial. And they couldn't get her attention because she couldn't see them because she thought she was human. Okay, she'd identified as being human now, not celestial. So she got all about her powers and that. Now, it's a while ago. I wrote it all down the next morning to remember it, and that's somewhere else, and I haven't read it since I was on with the Paranormal Now guys. We teleport into this old style country inn style pub style old European. Beautiful. I mean, it'd make the elite castles look like a shithole. That's how beautiful it was. I could tell everything was holographic, but it felt real. And the two ladies that came with me, we teleported in, sitting at the table with our drinks already there. Okay. And the older one that looked a bit like my grandma, I liked her. She was like my great grandmother. My great grandmother died when I was she was the one I was going to see when I had my accident, my great grandmother. And she was standing on her porch and seen it happen, but because she was like 100, and her eyesight weren't too good, she didn't realise it was me. But she seen it happen.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one that reminded me of my grandmother touched me, and she said, "Now you have extra God spark. We're just giving you extra God spark. You will need it for this mission, but it is permanent." And I said, "What? It's gonna stuff up my life?" No, it's not going to do anything about out of body. You are not going to be working, pulling up lower people anymore. You're going to be working for us. Right? Here we go. I'm at the mafia. Yeah.
She gave you a God spark offer you couldn't refuse.
Basically, yeah. And then this beautiful woman walks past, and all of a sudden she senses me and she looks over, and she comes straight over, and they said, "There's your target. You need to get out home. You know what to do." What do I do? I'm thinking. And she came over and sat next to me and was so nice, so loving, and just wanted to be. You know what a dog's like? Have you ever had a dog that it's like it wants to put itself inside you?
Did you say a dog?
Yeah, well, or a dog or a cat.
Okay.
You know, it's got to be touching you, and it feels like it wants to put its soul inside you. You know, that sort of feeling. Yeah, not in a dirty way. But that's what it felt like. She was trying to do. And the old ladies first, they told me, they said, "You've got to get her upstairs, and once you get up there, you'll know what to do." That's what they said. So I started talking to her, and she's talking to me, and she was telling me about her life and things. And I said, "Do you want to?" I think she'd say no. "Do you want to come upstairs? You know, to the private bar upstairs? Because there's a private bar upstairs." I didn't know. I knew that, but I hadn't never been there. But it just came out. So they're probably talking through me. You know what I mean? Or they'd give me.
That's what I call knowing. That when there's things in our life that we know and we have no reason to know how we know it, I try to express to people, pay attention to that, because it happens more than you're paying attention to.
Yeah.
And you can exercise that so you can become better at knowing.
Yeah.
That's effectively what a lot of the Monroe Institute stuff was dealing with, was this understanding that a knowing can occur. And
well, I'd done the Monroe Institute stuff in the 80s. we're talking 2021.
Mm-hmm.
We're 2021 here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she followed me up the steps. We went up the steps, arm in arm. Yep. And the steps went up like that, like that. You know how they go, steps go around, like in the old place.
Stages.
And just at the bend was an electromagnetic zzz. And I knew straight away we'd gone into a different dimension. Not density, dimension. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You know the difference between density and dimension?
I think that I do.
Yeah. A lot of people get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
A dimension, well, a density is the rate of vibration.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. A dimension is the rate of vibration with the rate of rotation.
Okay.
Of the nuclei inside yourself.
Okay. So one's vibration and one's rotation. So it's this goes back to
one's just vibration. Vibration with the same rotation, density.
Mm-hmm.
Vibration, higher vibration with the same rotation, density. Right?
A lot of the science folks that I study say there's really only two base motions in the cosmos, and there's reciprocal, which is like forwards or backwards, and then rotational. Yeah. So I feel like the forward backward I would call the density one, and then the other one is the other one, the rotational.
Yeah, and the other one's the dimension. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're spinning both at the moment. We get faster on both. And we get up there, and she says, "How can you?" I went and got a drink. I got a drink brought over to me, and she said, "How can you have so much and do so much and be able to go so many places without ever using any money?" I don't earn any money. I haven't earned money for 15 years. I haven't earned a cent for 15 years. I'm not lying. Mm-hmm. I live off my partner. She's the worker. I do the housework. Mm-hmm. So I do earn money. Just I do the housework to keep the house running, keep my son. We've got reverse roles. Since I hurt my back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it. And
I call this modern day equality, John.
Yeah, modern day equality. Yeah.
My girlfriend and I would tease each other, and I say, you're a modern empowered woman should have a man kept at home.
Yeah.
If you're truly the empowered woman that you say you are, dear.
Yeah. I say to my missus, you just want me barefoot and pregnant, but you haven't got me pregnant yet.
There you go.
But no, it's all right. I could learn something and probably do something behind a computer, but I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I love my job, but then again, I get days where I can't walk. Mm-hmm. What actually happened was my discs in my back.
Oh yeah.
I done 2 of them.
Yep.
I popped 2 of them lifting a 183 kilo gentleman. Dead gentleman. Because I worked in the funeral industry just when I was in the funeral industry after the coroner's industry, what you call it in America. And I had what's called a discogram, and that they put 6 atmospheres, which is 24 psi, right, into your disc, and it perforated into my spinal cord, and it cut the outer layer, coaxial cable. That's what your spinal cord looks like. It's a coaxial cable. And you've got an outer layer, an epidermal layer, and it cut that. But it didn't cut my spinal cord itself, it just cut the outer layer. And now that's scarred. And what happens is you've got inside your spinal cord, right? I mean, inside there's your spine, right? And your spinal cord goes through, right? That gets inflamed, and it's got nowhere to go, so it pushes out. You know what I mean? It pushes out. It's got nowhere to go, so it cuts off the electricity in my legs and shit. So,
I hope it causes numbness instead of pain.
Nah, pain. Major pain. Okay. It's been a little while, but sometimes I have to go to the doctor and get a jab of morphine. Yeah, I don't like that. One time she mixed the morphine with touch wood. It's been about 3 years since that happened, right? One time she mixed morphine with fentanyl, Oh, that stuff's brutal. Oh,
That's the stuff that kills people, isn't it? When they say that there's like
yeah, yeah.
fentanyl,
I
and
went,
I believe don't like the police officers and stuff are always warned against like fentanyl laced stuff because they could get killed on
yeah,
spot or something.
yeah. Well, doctors use it, but they use it in real small amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
I wanted.
well,
Go ahead.
I finished the story because I'm just about there.
Oh.
Um, I said to her, I said, well, I can show you how, but you need to trust me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, I trust you. I trust you. You know, she was just so smitten, you know. But I knew I was there to do a job, and I knew I had to take it to this room. I don't know how I knew or why I knew. So we went up the hall and went into this room, and it was just like a normal room, you know, like that real flash,
Mm-hmm.
but old school
Mm-hmm.
flash. You know what I mean? Like 18th century, but with modern appliances.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when they do up an old castle.
Absolutely.
And you got the modern Wi-Fi and everything. Yeah, that sort
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. And she said, what do we do now? And I said, how do we do it? I said, well, I'm going to show you how to go home. And her eyes lit up, and I said, well, you do want to go home? She said, yeah. I said, well, what do I do? She said, what do I do? I said, well, all you can do is hold me as tight as you can, because you're the one that's going to take us there. And so she held me real tight, and I said what I was supposed to say. And I can't remember that now, it's written down. It was just something simple. And all of a sudden, once again, big flash of light, and we're standing on this balcony in this mountain with this beautiful castle. It's this whole mountain. I mean, like a mountain. This castle, and it's like all different colors of glass, like but jewels, not glass, but jewels.
Wowzers.
Like, you know, like rubies, diamonds, gold, emeralds.
That's a whole new version of stained glass windows.
Yeah. This place and this vibration was so beautiful, and there was things in the air, and there was the valley with beautiful lights and that. And she said, "Where are we?" And I said, "You know where we are." And she said, "No, I don't." I said, "Yeah, you're the one that's brought us here. You need to think, where are we? Where am I? Where have I just come?" And then all of a sudden it just hit her. And she went, "Oh, thank you." And she gave me a big cuddle. And two old ladies came back and they gave me a cuddle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started talking to her and reuniting. And I slowly floated off back about 50 meters, maybe 100 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So foot. 100 foot. Yeah. And just watched them reunite and just crying. And then the next thing I know, I'm standing beside my body, and I'm there, that's there in bed. I looked over at the time. I think I've been gone about 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and jumped back into my body. And next morning I woke up, and the first thing I did was start crying.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I come back? Why am I here? Oh, shit. I don't want to be here. And it broke me. It changed me. And they also gave me other stuff, other teachings and learning as well in between there. That's basically the short version.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it'll take you an hour.
Which makes you feel like, you feel like you're more mentally prepared and in that environment, and then to be removed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm ready to go again, but they know that now. That was March. That was about 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
About 6 weeks ago, I think, 8 weeks ago, I done. Yeah. So it's been April, May. It's been 2 months, maybe three, since I came right and done the guys, the paranormal now. So.
Mm-hmm.
And as time goes on, the feeling lessens. You know what I mean? The emotion lessens.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can talk about it without welling up. But when I was talking about it on their program, I was on the verge of break, and that
Totally
was 3
understood.
months after. Yeah, yeah. So I'm expecting a visit from them again soon. So, but I haven't heard from them since that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they came once. No, sorry. It was a very brief, quick checkup to make sure I was all right, and then they disappeared. But we have funny things happening around here all the time. Like I've got friends. None of my friends know what I do. Like I say, I've got friends. We've all got friends. I've got one. But one of my mates was here. Like I don't drink anymore. I haven't drunk for about 15, 20 years, except special occasions.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get really sick. But my mate was here, and he comes over about 2-3 times a year, and I always have a drink when he comes over out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're sitting here watching a movie after being to the pub, and we get this little resident grey type alien. He's only about this big, like how would you put it, up to probably the top of your gut.
Okay.
So 3.5 foot.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps poking his, we've got a door just over here into the hallway, and he keeps poking his head round. And lots of people have seen it. Not just me, my son, my wife, mates, a couple of mates, friends, family. But Wayne, he said, "What was that?" And I said, "What?" He said, "There's something over there." I said, "Oh, no, it's a shadow, mate. Don't worry about it." And I looked, I said, it was a little grey poking his head round. He goes, and we got the other ones. I call them the quixies. My son sees them most.
Mm-hmm.
They're that tall. Apart from a coney head, perfect human. They come from Mars. They're Martian. Yeah. No, I know about them.
Uh-huh.
Lots of stuff. The planet killer.
The planet killer?
Right. Now, my yeah, that's me. My wife's psychic, but very psychic.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very introverted. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So she don't like people knowing about it. So I wouldn't be talking about this if she was here, because she'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks to 2 ETs, one good, one not so good. She's got George and Jake. They've just given it because we can't pronounce their names.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's a reptilian, and the other one a jinn type.
Okay.
Right. We had a lot. You heard of the Black Hat Man?
The Black Hat Men?
Yeah. The man, the smoky man in the black hat.
Like the Men in Black, like the anti. No. Okay. Different stuff that I haven't heard of it.
He sits on the end of your bed. If you can't get rid of him, he can make you real sick and kill you.
I've not heard of this before.
He's a jinn.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of jinn?
Yes.
DJI.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he was coming sitting on the end of our bed. My wife got rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
But she's strong, and you've got to be real strong to get rid of the hat man.
And what was that you called it again? A black hat?
Yeah.
Men in black hats?
He's in a black hat, but he's got wispy. He's black. He's all black, and he's got wispy stuff in smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Usually see him around, sometimes around death, or they cause it. They're an ET. They're basically an ET. They're a corporeal ET. They've been known for some of the biggest disasters in the world, like what was the big one? A bridge falling down somewhere in America,
Okay.
or somewhere in the way back. The Mothman type
Okay.
thing. They can appear as anything. He told me a little bit about my off-world travellings when I was out with the Greys. He said, while I was with the Greys, I was the one that pulled the trigger that killed a planet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not fault. This is there's a reason he told me this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm not the fault because I was under the influence of the mitral grey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then he started pleading because he grabbed my boy, right, through Steph, right, and threw him.
Mm.
And Steph can't. My boy was in now, so he'd been about 12 or 13 then, right? And she picked him up like he was nothing when she was under his influence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And she said, what's this? No, get away from me. Like, this child, so I get to know what a child was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's only ever been twice, okay? And I done a ritually thing to kick him out. He's not been back since. But why he came was because he'd heard of me and he couldn't get to me, but he came to me through Steph because he heard I was the planet killer and he wanted me to put a good word or help take him across when we go through the compression because they're not coming. And he was screaming and it was loud. I woke up my boy, probably woke up the neighbours, screaming and pleading with me, take him. Mm-hmm. He's not going to get out of this body until a lot of people call it demonic possession, but I don't believe in demons. All right? We're all one life form or another. Mm-hmm. Okay, either service yourself or service to others. And it wasn't until I told him that I couldn't make that call. I had to talk to higher people that he left there. And when I went out of body, I got told I got done. I did the right thing. It went long after that. That's when the celestials came to me. Mm-hmm. So that might have been a test. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to see.
That could have been a test to see which way I'd lean, being faced with the prosperity of all the goals that I wanted, all of anything I ever wanted in this life, if I helped him get across to the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. This is that I feel like a lot of our lives and meaning, whether dimensions, frequencies, but all these different experiences we have, that there's certainly a lot of testing or challenges involved.
Yeah,
It's, you know, in a way, I look at life as a game in some sort, but we're just really not getting it right now.
We will. Mm-hmm. There's more and more getting it every day. Mm-hmm. Some are more advanced along than others. It doesn't mean you're any better. It doesn't mean you're any worse. We're all getting a chance. Everyone is getting a chance to go. And my goal is to find that one person in the group, because I'm not that one person, right? Mm-hmm. And there's all different groups. And my goal is to find that one person in the group that will get it, that other people will listen to.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And they'll put it in their own words, mm-hmm. and they'll get their own experiences once they get it. Mm-hmm. Because once you get it, you've got the attention of the higher one. Mm-hmm. Once you've got the attention of the higher one, if you can stay in that vibration, you will get it, and then your vibration will raise even more and more and more, and you'll get more people around you listening to you. And this is what was happening to me, but I didn't handle it. I wasn't comfortable with it because this is my last go round. I'm going home, and apparently I've got shitloads of good karma. Gary Carlson, iCheckYourSoul.com. He's great. He's genuine. Mm-hmm. He knows how to check people's souls. He checked my soul, and he told me, and he did it for free. He was told to do it for free, mm-hmm. okay, by his guides. That the average person needs 800 good karma to make it to ascension. I got nearly 10,000 good karma.
Nice. Hook a brother up, John. Come on.
But it's my last life. It's my holiday life. I'm here to help a few people get across, mm-hmm. and go home. this is allegedly. This is all from hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
all from out of body. I can't prove any of it.
Understood.
Half the people are going to think I'm full of shit. Other people are going to think I'm wacko. Some people are going to know because of what happens is when they talk to me, when I talk to you,
Yep.
right? Like this is what I'm doing now.
All we're doing
right?
is we're dialoguing frequencies at each other and looking for things that are resonant harmonies. Certain things that you will say will not vibrate well with me. Certain things you say will vibrate in harmony. And I think these are why we need to have these conversations that are odd, because if we never have the odd conversations, we won't know what odd things we do resonate with. And that right there is the truth. I mean, it doesn't matter what somebody says that's weird. It doesn't matter at all, because if I resonate with it, I have to deal with that.
If you resonate with it, it is truth. Whether it's someone else's truth or not, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, everybody's going to get used.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's going to make it. Many are calling for pure shows, and I'm an accidental. Some things happened in my life that weren't supposed to happen, weren't part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people jump in. Like you hear, oh, I had this car, I should have died 5, 6 times. And I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Oh my, I got a big list of reasons that I shouldn't be on the face of the earth right now. It's amazing to me sometimes when I look back, I'm like, man.
I believe you've been close a lot.
Oh yeah.
I can see it.
It's
plus your life that you used to lead, I can see not in detail, but
I can't even see it in detail. I have to concentrate hard to all the places that I've been to where I'm like, I almost bought it here. I totally almost bought it there. It's almost an infinite list of the amount of times where things have just popped or boomed or burst into flames or you name it. And I was just like, oh no.
So close. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But especially Antarctica stuff.
Yeah. Actually, that's actually the ones that I'm thinking of right off the bat. That was one of the most profound moments of my life. We had an alarm go off for the cryo facility, and we have 500,000 gallons of helium stored at, I think over there it was at, 4 degrees Kelvin, just 4 degrees above absolute zero. And at that volume, if we were to have any leak, it would immediately degrade everything around it, causing it to degrade more and then expand. It's almost what they would call a blevy. A massive explosion would have occurred. The volume, I believe, if I remember correctly, they said would expand. I think it was something like 500 or 5,000 to 1, and we had a 500,000 gallon volume. So we had an alarm that building was on fire, and I was the fire brigade attack team lead. And my partner and I were at our lockers, and we had to egress the building going out into, the weather in the middle of winter to get to that building that was burning. So we were putting our gear on. We are effectively the second response team to something like that. We have what we call first responders that would immediately go to the site and secure it and get intel for the fire brigade team that's now resourcing up to go mitigate the problem. So we're the fire brigade team, and as we're gearing up, we're going through the process of checking each other's. We're really dressing each other is what's going on to make sure everything's in the right spot, and we're facing each other. We're going through the motions. You need to put this here. Make sure you bring that. What do you want to bring to? You want to breach the door? You want to bring extinguishers? We're going through the motions, and then all of a sudden the radio fires up that the team 1 is on scene, and we've had plenty of false alarms, and we've had some fires and stuff like that. But this facility being what it was, all of a sudden the radio lit up that it was actively on fire, pouring smoke out of it. And I remember that my partner and I, we just stopped talking. Our hands kept moving. And I was like, all right, this is the total end of it. And we put on our gear. The door was right next to us. Extinguishers on our shoulders. It was like minus 90-something degrees out. We hit the deck on the ice. And everybody else had skedaddled because the scene was secure and there was no reason for them to be there. So her and I were walking towards this building, and John, I thought that was the end of I was waiting to see the wall of the building. I just thought it was going to blow up, and I thought that wall was going to hit me in the face at Mach 12.
That'll be the feeling I got when I thought about you in Antarctica, and all I thought was, oh shit, I survived that. That was the thought I got and the feeling I got in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, I get things like that that tell me
Resonating.
the truth. Yeah. And I know you're in Antarctica. I've seen photos of you there. So, I tend to triangulate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see it in 3 different places unless I see
Mm-hmm.
an actual photo of someone there. But these days, you can't prove that, unless you've got fake stamps and all that, that some things you have to take on faith and what you know. And, you've been there. I know. I feel you've been there. And I'll tell you what, it's somewhere I'd love to go.
Mm-hmm.
But not, I've never astral there. But I think I've been taken there.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that from a fistful of people.
I think in the younger days, when they were taking us, because it was cold and there was a lot of ice, because we weren't always in the ship,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Antarctica, but I can't prove it. I don't know.
I believe it. It's my understanding that the place is a kind of an intergalactic spaceport.
Oh, it's space hub, yeah. It's always it's been for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Lest we forget, we had I had John Warner on, and his father was previously Secretary of the Navy, and divulged that when he was Secretary of the Navy, the submarines were using steam bores to make tunnels, to make bases, and then when John asked his father what was the purpose of the bases, he said space operations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They got another one in Diego Garcia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I knew about that a long time ago as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the island's just a cover.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's under the water, under the ground level, under the water. Yeah.
Yep. I think people are going to be really surprised when they find out, like, what the real function of this planet is, and the waters and the insides versus the surface. There's a lot that we're literally taking at face value.
There's a few beings, inner-earth beings I knew about way before even Corey Good came on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
The Teros and the Deros. I learned about them when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones with the elephant nose.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar.
Deros. All right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Deros, right? Their face looks like an elephant.
Yep. I actually the Indian depictions, I think, would be a lot of the Indian gods. I've seen that people have made a relation that maybe those gods with the elephant faces may have been reminiscent of some sort of an alien, but with something affixed on it and things like that.
Yeah, I think they were interested. And then you got the Teros. There are relations to the Deros. Like the Deros are service to self, the Teros are service to others.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a real funny looking face. It's human, but it's real skinny, and their nose is like Pinocchio's. It's like that. It's like that long.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the ones who keep the Deros in check. And that's just 2 races. There's shitloads more under this.
Mm-hmm.
There's different. The deeper you go, it's the different ego.
Say that again.
The deeper you go, the different the ecosystem, the different phenotype, the different shape of the humanoid you get down there. Yeah, we're a repository. We're going from one place to another.
Do you have any thoughts or insights as to how many different I don't even know how to put it, species, life forms, like complex life forms like us, so to say, are on this planet?
Over 3,000 complex,
like sentient thinking species is where my brain is going?
Yeah, sentient, complex.
Building
collective.
things, that is something,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
around half of them, or over half of them, are in the earth. The rest are in the sea. And there's 2 or 3 up here. There's us. There's the Telosians. They mix with humans every day. We never we never know the difference. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's 3 or 4 others that mix with us. And the only way that you'll ever know is if you walk past them and notice something different about them, and they might say something into your head. You're going to forget about it in 3, 2, 1. You forgot about it. Yep. You only remember them if they let you remember.
Interesting.
Yeah. And one of the most intelligent on the earth, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Interesting.
And
I am not versed in Bigfoot, but I am amazed as to how much it comes in and peppers my conversation, because I don't know everything about everything, but apparently, like, I mean, yes, I certainly grew up hearing all the Bigfoot stories, right? But to now hear that there's this potential that it can come and not be a lark, to me, is almost fascinating in and of itself, you know?
Well, they're very spiritual. They can move in and out of reality. Okay, and this is where we come in. Right?
Okay.
This is the tricky bit. This is the bit that's going to blow your mind. This is what I told you. Right? The missing link is Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Is the missing link. That's why some of us are psychic. Look at yogis, right? I've got friends of my son that have told me that have seen my son, my oldest son, he's 36, 36. He done the Monday stuff with me. I done it twice. Second time I done it. Yeah, when he was 12 years old, he wanted to do it, so I done it again with him. And he can sit on the couch and be talking to you and be in 2 worlds. And his mates have told me, because my son's half married, right? And Mary's, talks like that, okay. Have you seen your son? He can go out. He disappears when he's talking to you. You know, because he hangs out with real married guys, yeah. And they've said, I've seen him disappear, and he comes back, he just disappears. He's magic, man. You know? And that's my son. My old son. He's been doing a lot of work on the other side too, and it's generations, because it goes all the way back to my great grandmother.
That's something that I'm definitely learning. There's some veracity to the statement, is that these bloodlines totally matter. I don't understand why, but I don't need to understand why. I just need to respect that somebody else is involved in this, you know?
It's not just the bloodline, it's where you come from. You always have your origin vibration, no matter how high or how low you go. Your origin vibration, which goes back way before we can even
fathom,
because they say we've been here forever.
Okay.
Right? That's your first flick out from God, whatever God spark, right, from Creator, right? That first flick out spark that made you come into existence, or your soul come into existence, is always at that frequency. What you do is you build around it, and the next frequency goes around it, and then around it again, like a toroid.
Yeah, I can follow that.
Yeah, the toroid around it, and then that's your frequency for a while. Then maybe your next life, or even the same life, you raise your frequency, so you get another layer, and another layer, and another layer. That's when every time I meditate, I'm always pulling it in and around me that way, and then that way. From the heavens, all the way down to the center of the earth, from the center of the earth, all the way back up to the Creator. And that way, the negatives can't touch you. They can poke you, but they can't hurt you. But you've always got that original. It's called your root race.
Okay. You
heard of the word root race before?
Absolutely, yes.
That's been miscomprehended and translated.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically root source, not root race.
I was thinking in my brain, root frequency.
Yeah, root frequency, root source.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And from what I can gather, it all depends on what part of Prime Creator flicked off to what frequency you're vibrating at.
Interesting.
Original.
Mm-hmm.
Original. But that's getting too deep. I'm losing people with that.
Yeah, because of the way my brain is going, is that we're still effectively a component of what you'd be calling the God at this point, so to say. Because when you're saying that we're each now a different part of that, I can still follow that.
Yeah,
or source,
yeah,
whatever you want to call it, source.
We're all part of the great song.
Mm-hmm. I can follow that. Yeah, the harmony.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about studying music and the frequencies and the octaves and where they switch and all that stuff. I just recently had somebody, yesterday as a matter of fact, I had never heard of a different way of presenting the periodic table of elements, and there's another way of arranging it so that it is in a spiraling circular fashion, and the node points are now more indicative of where new things should be found and looked for. And I had never seen that before, and I was like, wow, that is way more appropriate.
But you do know there's 17 elements they haven't put in there, don't you?
Say this again?
And that makes it 17 elements that they have to put in.
Right. Yeah, because they can now locate that there's these missing spots of things that they haven't realized.
Yeah. But the thing is, they don't want to put them elements in because them elements prove that we can do free. Look, if we put them elements out, within 2 to 3 years, the whole world would know we can time travel.
Mm-hmm.
We can bilocate, and this is just by ingesting this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, this is our souls doing. This
Interesting.
Is where we're supposed to be.
I've never heard that before. You're saying that there's an element that we can ingest that would be able to cause time travel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Have you heard of Ormus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's not Ormus, but it's in Ormus.
Interesting.
I forget the name of the element.
Mm-hmm.
No, can't think of it. It's a real funny name. You wouldn't even think of it.
Mm-hmm. If you can remember it at some time, please send it to me in an email or something, because I was considering checking out an Ormus company, and I'd like to see if it's in there, just to see.
I'll have to look up the old. Way. I got told this, and I don't know if I wrote it down. But they told me that there's 17 elements, and one of them elements is what joins. Like, what's going to happen is when we get into full depression before we spit out the other side, we're all going to start becoming psychic. We're going to be able to bilocate. I want a cup of coffee, right? I'm sitting here, I haven't got a coffee. I think I'd love a coffee. There it is. This is where we're going before we spit out the other side. But you can do it now, but you've got to take Ormus. But you've got to take a lot of Ormus, because there's only a little bit of this stuff inside the Ormus that starts your gyro, your God spark shining out. And that's what it has to do. Your God spark has to shine out around the outside of your body and encompass your whole body. Then your body inside that barrier or inside that Merkaba, right, can go anywhere at once, anywhere, anywhen, any why, any how.
I'm totally following you on that one. I've studied some stuff with the Merkaba and Drunvalo Melchizedek. Are you familiar with him? Drunvalo. I've studied a bunch of his stuff and the Merkaba.
He's dead now, isn't he?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure.
I heard he died, but I don't know. I've only heard it once, and I don't know if it's true or not. So if someone could text it.
But I really enjoyed studying the stuff that he was putting out there and the energy fields around us and things like that.
Yeah. Well, he made me realize and started me researching into Birkeland currents. In Birkeland currents, it's like gravity A, gravity B. Have you heard of gravity A, gravity B?
I haven't heard it described that way.
well, gravity A is the gravity of the universe. Gravity B is the gravity of the Earth.
Okay.
And you put gravity A, it's a formula.
I can totally follow that. Yeah, because there's different masses and energies involved, and we have the one that we're most closely aligned to for us is Earth. So we're very closely impacted by that gravity. But that doesn't mean that all of the other spheres and everything around us, that collective net of their energies themselves, is an energy that we're in. We're riding in that energy on a piece of material that also has its own energies.
Yeah, the electric universe, and this is how a lot of ET craft work. They log in to the vibration. They use numbers and supercomputers. Quantum computers.
I can picture that in my head right now, because if we were to visualize those energies that we don't see right now, it would become a sea of activity.
Yeah.
And just like a boat could ride the waves of an ocean to get to where it needs to go, there's other things that could be accomplished as well when you start to understand the different seas of energy around us. Yeah.
Well, let's say you wanted to go to the Pleiades. You just type in the frequency of the Pleiades, and it just pulls the ship there. Well, the ship doesn't even move, actually. The universe comes to you.
I can follow that. I know a lot of people, they can't really believe what you're saying is true, because the physics they've been taught doesn't present an avenue for their brain to connect to that reality. So you're stating a fact of the cosmos, but without a way to, I guess, it would be like talking to somebody about a car, but not being able to describe the engine. Like, like, hey, we can get in this thing, and I can get you from here to here. But if you're going to ask me how this works, I'm just going to tell you I got you there.
Yeah. I know how to get you there, but I know how to put the petrol in the car. But if it broke down, we're stuck.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And you certainly couldn't sit there and give someone directions on how to assemble the engine if it was laying there in parts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that's, a lot of people, just because you can give them one bit of information, they expect you to be able to follow up with the entirety. And I oftentimes feel that's a little bit bold on people's parts to think that when somebody's able to answer one question for you, that you can now hit them with every question. And if they can't answer one, then that means the first one was answered poorly. And that seems to be a faux pas on society all too often nowadays.
Oh, yeah, these days, yeah. And, we're going through the madness at the moment, but the madness will stop. And there are actually some breakthrough people coming out talking about what I've talked about today with numbers, with math, with science, all to back it up. There's quite a few out there, and in the past as well.
Oh, yeah.
You look at Garian, the Russian scientist who, going back to David Wolkoff, put a non-burning red laser through a frog's egg into a salamander egg, and frog was born out of salamander egg, and vice versa. Put through the salamander egg, and the frog's egg turned into a salamander. It's all frequency, because it put the DNA from the first egg, and then the laser light pushed it into the second egg, and it took over the DNA of the second egg and turned it into a frog.
That's wild.
And what they found out as well is if you put the right laser light through a DNA strand, you take away that DNA strand, that laser light stays in the shape of the DNA strand for 30 days.
I just came across something, I think it was yesterday as well, and I missed this, but it was apparently a while ago. There was some documented case of a child being born with 3 DNA strands.
No, they're starting to be born with 4 now.
Fair enough.
What's happening? The new ones coming in because we're getting so close to the depression, right? Now, what's been happening, right? I think it was a Draco. I was told it was a Draco, but I'm sure it's a Draco anyway. Because we've been upgraded at least 37 times since our first conception. interception by I know who. Yeah, it's not worth going into at the moment.
Brain fog.
So what they done? Yeah, not that they're controversial. What they done was they cut 10 of the strands, and each strand has trillions of gossamers. Okay, gossamer threads. Right now, right, they're still inside us. They never took them out. They just cut them. Right, but now the frequencies are getting bigger. Right, instead of going like that, they're starting to mesh in.
Okay.
So there's another one got. So then we've got 3 strands. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
1960s, I think, was the first 3-stranded. 1970s, when they first found out, they found their first 3-stranded DNA, and it was that little boy who in China who in the dark.
It could be the same story because my memory's failing me, but I remember it was a boy, and it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a place in America, I can't remember the name of it. They look for children with special gifts, and they know how to test them to see how many strands, and they've got 4 strands, kids coming through with 4 strands now.
Wowzers.
I can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably find it by go DuckDuckGo.
You know something? I think I might have got the info about the 3-stranded boy from one of Mary Rodwell's videos that I watched recently. I think it might have been her that put the information out.
Yeah.
Because she was also talking about the continued advancement, actually, and she was talking about the indigo children, the star children, and all of this stuff, and how we are advancing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the information I just gave you there was from Mary Rodwell.
Gotcha.
Some of it was from my own stuff, but most of it was Mary Rodwell with me doing my meditations and adding to it when I've been given information. Like, like my meditations, and that since I've been doing the hypnosis, since I started the hypnosis, right? Under hypnosis, anesthetists would give me little tidbits, and they all come true. All of them except the second moon. That I think I know about second moon, but that's another story for another day.
Interesting. Second moon.
Before.
I haven't heard second moon before.
Yeah. There's certainly one coming there, one being there.
Okay.
The Gulf oil spill. 3
Mm-hmm.
years, I think it was, before the Gulf oil spill. It's in the book. Told me that the Gulf, I've also talked about it on his National Flattery show, and a few other shows, that the Gulf of Mexico will be in flames. The whole lot. But only a couple of rings blew up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So, and Peter said, well, when they told you, because we're emotional beings and we're creative beings, and we go on collective emotion where the Earth's going to be going, that's why I know it's on a good timeline, not a bad timeline, because there are a lot of people who aren't doing what they're told.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'll say on that. He said by the 3 years between you being told and then, the vibration of the human collective would have changed that much that it was only one or a couple of oil wells that burned up. So that one was right. What else was it? You said about Three Gorges Dam's going to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I keep seeing that in the news as a potential. So you think that's out of here, huh?
That was 2005.
Okay.
That he said that's for the future.
Mm-hmm. I keep seeing that one on the news. I actually saw something yesterday. I didn't check, but there was some folks were saying it was huge. They were saying like a 9.7 to a 12 point something earthquake occurred, like within the last 24 hours.
Yeah, and they got flooded. But the other thing he said was the Three Gorges. He didn't call it Three Gorges Dam. He said the Three Gorges is going to be left for right at the end. So if the Three Gorges Dam goes, we're close to hitting full compression before coming out the other side. That's put in a scientific way.
I guess I never wanted a dam to fail before today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was built to fail anyway. And when they were building it, they were even talking about it was built to fail. But there was like Terry wrote a book with about 55, 60% of my hypnosis sessions in the book.
Okay.
It's called Conversations with Armistice.
Okay.
I don't make no money off it. I'm not allowed to make money off it. I got told that Terry wanted to write a book about what we've done, and Armistice said, under hypnosis, because Armistice comes in, and he said, yeah, I like that idea, but John cannot make anything off it. Terry could, but I wasn't allowed because it was divine information. And you're not allowed to make money off divine information. If it's divine information, and you make money off it, you get kicked up the arse, something horrid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that he told me my reward comes later.
I believe that.
I have no idea
So,
what that is.
following that karmic avenue, I would imagine that if somebody had divine information and was selfishly withholding it, that there would be massive ramifications for that.
Can you not see it?
Right?
Can you not see the massive ramifications happening around the world right now?
That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that, you know, this is the issue, is that there are folks that are in the know and have known forever. Like, you know, this is ancient wisdom.
Like the old Aborigine, he throws a boomerang and he stands there. If it doesn't hit anything, it comes back. And if he's good, you can grab it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening.
Yep.
Exactly. Spiritual wise, that's exactly what's happening. And it's just going to ramp up again. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's going to be we, thee, against thee. And it's going to be like, liken it to 1 against a million. Mm-hmm. It's going to be around about, no, it's going to be bigger than that. It's going to be around about 1 per 10 million.
One bad person per 10 million good?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I can follow that.
Yep.
Yeah, they've been bamboozling us for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's something going on in the cosmos that, you know, the truth is required, and those who work against the truth are doing so at their own peril. Yeah. And that they attempt to play games with this law by disseminating truths in peculiar ways, but there is some still semblance of reason to their madness, but it's like a way delaying the inevitable, you know? It's going to bite them in the ass eventually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like
Tesla worked out free energy in 32, or 30, between 30 and 32. Wardenclyffe Tower, when did that go up?
Oh, Wardenclyffe, that's a great question. That would have had to been, I guess, early 1900s?
Yeah, yeah. The Wardenclyffe Tower was his early experiments on free energy.
Mm-hmm.
But he perfected it after that.
I've actually been to that facility a few times.
Now, what's always got me, and I've never asked and I've never meditated on it, right? That the Tunguska explosion happened at exactly the same time that he turned Wardenclyffe Tower on. This is what I don't know if it's true or not, right?
I've heard people say this before, that they absolutely believe Tesla caused Tunguska.
And he miscalculated, and it shot out through the other end of the earth. And I don't know if it's true or not, but
I don't know either. But it's a reasonable conversation when you're talking about what Tesla could pull off. There's certainly plenty of reports from the local authorities when Tesla was in the New York City area functioning his experiments. There were many reports of the entire city starting to vibrate, and they were the police were kicking in the door at Tesla's facility because they knew what was going on, and they would walk in the door and they would see Tesla with a hatchet trying to cut wires. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I followed Tesla quite a bit because he was sent down to get us into from zero civilization to one civilization, right? You know the Kardashev scale.
Say that again.
The Kardashev scale, I think it's called.
Oh, I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm.
Yeah, it's one. Zero is us.
Mm.
One is going out to your neighbouring planets and interacting with them, and all the way up to encompassing the whole sun.
What's the highest number on the scale?
10.
10. Okay. 0 to 10. Okay. So then, I saw a document that is apparently a CIA declassified document that states Tesla's from Venus and was dropped off to be taken care of.
Well, one thing people don't realise is 3D is only inside the Van Allen belt. Once you get outside the Van Allen belt, things look totally different than what we see it from here. We see it from a 3D perspective. Outside, it's 5D. It's all 5D. And that's not density, that's dimensional.
That's very challenging for me to wrap my brain around right now. So when we send probes beyond the Van Allen belt, and we get images back.
They're not showing what they're showing us.
Okay, 10-4. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our cosmic agency just last week done one about the planets in our solar system, and it resonated with me something horrid.
Mm-hmm. Because
I remember a life where I was sent to war like Vietnam. I got shot in the liver and died.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a liver problem a little bit these days. I had a failure liver, but I fixed it through the acting diet. But, it's another story. And I remember getting killed in a foxhole, and I didn't think it was by a human, but it looked like Vietnam. Now, you go and watch Cosmic Agency, their last one on the planets in the solar system, and this just made my brain go, maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why they took me this time, because last time I was a super soldier and I got killed in Thingy Box. But the time before that, I was in Montauk, and I was still, did you know that there's a UFO down there?
I believe it. I didn't know it, so to say, but I believe it.
I've seen it.
Oh, cool.
I've never been to Montauk in this life.
Okay.
But I know exactly where it is, and it's in a hall. The hall goes down this way, and it turns right, it goes forward, and it turns right. All along this wall are cages for kids. I was in one of them cages, right? And I could see the UFO sticking out of the rock from the cage. Mm-hmm. That's where they got to see. I was sent through time and didn't make it.
How big might you describe this craft to be?
30 feet.
30, you said?
No, it's 30 feet.
30 feet.
30
okay.
Feet down.
Okay.
It's like the sport model.
Okay.
When I seen the sport model, remember when Bob Lazar first came out in the 80s, and he told us about and showed a picture of the sport model that he'd drawn. Yeah?
I think so.
Or straight away. That's the Montauk.
Okay.
I said that loud. I said, that's the Montauk UFO.
I want to pick your image memory banks right there as well. How many cages do you think were on the wall?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Okay.
And this is before, right? I knew about Preston Nichols. Right? Because a lot of them were really fucking bad, excuse me language, really bad bastards. Okay? They treated us like shit. I wasn't there long before they killed me.
I understand.
Right? He was the only nice one. This big fat man used to come, and he was nice, and he used to give us food, and he used to tell stories and be nice to us. Right? I've never seen Preston Nichols before in my life. The first time I seen that documentary with him in it, Big Fat Jolly Man, have you seen that one with Preston Nichols all sitting in the chairs and they're all talking about it? And he talks about the reptoids drinking Drano and getting pissed. Okay. And the Greys, they spray Lysol on themselves and rub it in and they get drunk. Huh. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, get here.
Interesting.
As soon as I see him, I know that man. That's
Mm-hmm.
him. That's the man that came when we were in the cages,
Mm-hmm.
and he was nice. And he's the only nice one I came across. I was a street kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was taken off the street, and that's the only. I've seen Dracos, but they always make you forget that you've seen them.
Okay.
But I remembered what they looked like even before I'd seen a picture of one when I got older
Mm-hmm.
because of Montauk.
I actually had an interesting Montauk was a trigger for me as well. I was living back on Long Island at the time, and I was just walking into a bookstore. At the time, I was a voracious reader trying to figure some things out. I'm also a frugal German, so when I walked in the door and they had the bargain book table, I went right to that first. So I picked up a book, and it just said simply on the cover, it just said "Weird New York" was the name of the book, and it was like all these weird different locations that you could check out that still exist, you know, and all the weird paranormal stories and things that go with them. I literally picked this book up off of the table, just opened it up like, you know, right to the middle randomly, and it was the start of the story of the Montauk Project. And as soon as I opened it, I looked at the picture, and I in my brain, I was like, "Oh wow, I remember being there." And then I started to read the story, and I went, "I don't remember ever really being there, though." Like when I saw the pictures, an instantaneous dead reckoning. I'm like, "Oh, I know that spot." And then I read the story, and I'm like, "I have no reason to know this spot." And what's with this story? And it
You
just
know what? You know,
for years it was just
yeah.
intriguing to me because I was a local resident and I had the book. But I can never take away that moment of when I opened it. It was completely tangible to me. I understand that everybody else can laugh at me all you want. It was one of the most realist moments that I've ever had that I couldn't explain. The affinity that I had, the recollection was harsh, but I couldn't separate it. And then I read the story, and then I instantly distanced myself because I'm like, that makes no sense. How could I have anything to do with that?
Yeah, well, what put me onto Montauk was going out of body.
Mm.
When I done the Gateway and Lifeline the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was going out saving souls, and I kept going into this underground place
Mm-hmm.
where I was saving these kids dirty and sick and broken and
Mm-hmm.
naked,
Mm-hmm.
and I was taking them back up to Focus 27 or wherever, 24, 25, 26, 27, 20, 25 and 26 Christian, right? 24 is atheist, normal. Yep. 25, 26 is Christian. 27 is I don't put my beliefs on you. You don't put your beliefs on me. We live in harmony. That's Focus 27 according to the Monroe Protocol. Okay. Now, every time I went down there, I seen this UFO in there. And there was this last kid that I had to get, and it was me. These kids had already died, but their spirits are still in the cages.
That's very interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
In the system. And it wasn't until I couldn't get this last kid because he didn't want to come. And then the guide said, "Did you know it is Satan?" Because the guide's always there. And I got a feeling I know this person really well. They said, "You should. It's you. Now tell yourself to come."
Mm-hmm.
And I told me to come.
Mm-hmm.
And he came with me straight away, took him back up. And he met with family that I've never seen before because I go to Focus 20. Not all the time, because sometimes you pass it on to the guide, sometimes you go with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the guide, because you let go, the guide's gonna lose them. But this is only a small amount of time. This is like if tortured people, for people who hate themselves, for people who, when you're in a low vibration. You know what I mean? You don't make it up. When you're in a low vibration, you can't see the higher being. That's the guide.
Okay.
So what you've got to do is you've got to get them to, I usually give them a big, hard, full, pure unconditional love energy burst. And then they can get them to look around and see what's behind them. And they can see them, but if they can't, I have to take them and grab them and then grab the guide, take them up to 27. And we get up there, and there's all this family waiting and cheering, and it was me and this family. I know them all, but I've never met them before.
Is there any chance that you can pinpoint the age discrepancy between your two selves at that meeting point? How old was the older one and how young was the younger one?
6, 7, and 23, 25.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then at the point that you brought everybody up to the 26, 27 level, was it at that point that did your younger self then have an understanding that it was in the presence of its older self?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we got to page 27, it knew who I was.
Okay.
I knew who I was both ways.
Okay.
But different personalities. Because every lifetime you get a bit of a different
for sure.
personality.
And I couldn't expect you to have the same personality now as you did when you were 6 or 7 or 23. You have experiences that modify you.
Oh yeah. We're different people. Like, like someone does something at 17 and they're punished for it for the rest of their life, but they're good for the rest of their life. When you're say 35, 40, you're totally different. Most people, some people have changed, but most people are a totally different person at 45 than they were at 17.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And people, this is something that I think the elite know that they use it against.
I agree with that 100%.
It's a there's so much weaponized stuff out there. It's not funny. Like I used to follow UFO stuff like non-stop. I hardly do it anymore. No, I hardly follow anything much anymore. But like I used to.
I think people are going to be unpleasantly surprised when they find out what the technology that we wield today, as presented in its primary role, also does. They're going to flip out. They're going to totally flip out.
I can guarantee you 100% that we are 5,000 years behind where we should be.
Yes.
Every year, advance in science we make on the outside, in the deep underground military bases, this was back in the 60s, they were making 50 years advance of what we were making up top.
Yep.
I heard that was way back then. Recently, I heard it's anywhere up to 500 years per year.
Yep.
That's how just in the last couple of years.
Yes.
That we're advancing.
When I got into the submarine service, in 1994, and I started training on Los Angeles class submarines, like cell phones and touchscreen, like we had touchscreens and things like that. It is like this is all a farce that folks like Steve Jobs and all these, they're inventing. No, they're not. Our taxpayer dollars are paying for all the research and development of every awesome technology because the military is going to get it first. And then when they're done using it and it's no longer viable for them anymore, they then tap their friend. Oh, hey pal, would you like to be a multi-billionaire? We're going to give you the technology. Here's the patent. You get to call it yours. Oh, and by the way, we still kind of run your company, even though you'll be the face man and a billionaire. So throw that technology out to the community so that we can backdoor into it and do whatever we want.
Yep.
That's what's really going on.
I won't say the right word.
Unless anybody actually believes Elon Musk is a genius. Are you kidding me?
No.
He's a front man.
Yeah.
Non-genius. I would love to engage Elon Musk for a conversation about his geniusness.
Do you know why he's where he is?
Because of his family and his backing?
Bloodline. Bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are where they are because of bloodline. And we can see it coming to an end.
I don't ever recall seeing Elon Musk talk and have him say anything that was impressive at all. Nothing. Not a peep.
And you get like people like Bezos, and
I thought rockets were pretty interesting back when Werner von Braun was innovating it, but now it's like, really? Rockets?
They've proved we've had anti-gravity suits.
Yep.
They've proved it.
Yes. If anything, if Elon Musk decided to take his fortunes and invest in the new U.S. Navy patents that came out under the name Salvatore Pais, which are anti-grav, free energy, so to say. I mean, that's being innovative. That's going somewhere.
Yeah.
But to say that I'm going to build rockets to get to the moon, like, is this a rerun? Like, what's going on?
I think it's the last desperate ditch effort of a dying ideology.
Yes, this whole concept of we're trapped here because it's so hard to get off the planet is that they're just trying to hammer down on that one. You know, keep thinking that it's difficult to get out of here. Keep thinking that you need rich people to figure this out for you. I'm researching a guy in Canada that seems to have a lot of stuff figured out really well. I have a hard time following how he presents it. But I think he's onto something. I think this guy's got it really dialed in, and it's rudimentary. He understands Tesla more than most because he's taken complex Tesla ideas and turned them into mechanical, simple stuff that you can make in your garage. And that's what he's trying to impress upon people, is that yes, you too can, with the scraps in your shed, build a free energy device. And people can't believe that it's that simple, but if we actually look at what folks like Nikola Tesla did, right? We all have the benefit of electricity, electronics, all the wonders that came from it. But if we actually understand what Tesla simply did, and what Tesla simply understood, was if you can take the right amount of materials, assemble them in the correct sacred geometry, and then rotate them, you get this really interesting phenomenon that you can't really look at, bottle, hold in your hand, but you can also not deny it. So that's where, to me, anti-grav is also, it's just that simple. What thing do we take, shape in the correct sacred geometrical pattern, and rotate it around what, or what around it, for me to get whatever I want done anytime?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest lies they've told us in the 20th century was they make electricity. I think they make electricity. Nope. Electricity is in the air. All that they do is harvest it and then pump it.
They manipulate it. They wield it.
They manipulate it.
Yep.
Yep. You got your copper.
Mm-hmm.
You got your magnet. Mm-hmm. That's going boom, 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 boom on the copper. Mm-hmm. That opens up the pores of the copper. Lets the electricity into play. It closes it back off, and it pushes it out the other way.
And there's a misconception to that whole copper wire too. The electricity is not traveling through it, but it's traveling really closely around it.
Around it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but people don't get that.
It's the old way of traveling. There's a new way of traveling now, which is a lot of these things. What they've got to do is they've got to open and close. Open it up, let the electricity just open, right, at the molecular level, right? The electricity goes into play, and then they close it off and snap it off, and the only way out is out the other end, where they've got the cable where it can go. Mm-hmm. It's just square blocks on a rotor. And have you ever been inside a power station?
Oh yes, plenty, lots of them. I've done tons of work in them.
The feeling you get when you stand. Have you ever stood right next to a turbine? Mm-hmm. A power turbine, a big one.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the feeling you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
you
feel dizzy. You feel like you're going to float. You feel
there's something in the air.
The air starts sort of going a little bit like that, but not quite. You think it's about to, but it doesn't. There's a big power station up in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 50k away where I used to work, where I was working when I was working in the bush for a little while. And the boss had to go and see a fellow at the power station. Mm-hmm. And it was a hydro power station. And I went with him because he couldn't drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I was driving him around. And instead of cutting down trees in the bush. Mm-hmm. And I was standing next to this thing, and I've never felt like that before in my life, and I've never felt like it.
I remember
That's a good feeling.
I was in New York, post 9/11 when we had that big blackout that took out the entire northeast of the U.S.
Yeah.
There was many states that went out like that. I was at a customer's house. I was completing a service call. I was writing up the ticket to collect from the customer, and I was about to do a charge card processing over the cell phone, and all of a sudden that was it. Poof, everything just went down instantaneously. Right, the whole quadrant of the U.S. went offline. And John, I could tell you, I felt it. It was like everything went down, and it was like the whole world just changed. The feeling around me, and I was like, "Wow, what's going on?" Like, and not for nothing, it felt better. I could tangibly feel that I was like a burden had been released, like something. There was a tension, a pressure that was like, ah. You know, it's like, okay, there's no power, but that's okay. This feels nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people, there's two reactions when the power goes out: blind panic, and relief. And that's what I get if we get a power cut. I go, oh, the only thing this is nothing I can't get on the internet, but that's that's what I've noticed. Some people really panic, and there's no sort of in between. Other people feel, oh, that feels better.
I got lucky because it was
it
was about dinner time, so I drove home. I drove home through the chaos because it was absolute pandemonium without any of the traffic signals and such. But I eventually made it back to my home, and it was a community. I knew everybody, and we rapidly decided that the best thing that we could do was drink all the beers before they got too warm and start throwing stuff on the grill.
That's a good idea.
Start cooking all the fresh meat and drinking all the cold beer. Let the frozen stuff take care of the rest.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty well.
But that sounds human.
Yeah. Reasonable stuff.
And it's humane. It's humane as well, because you don't want the beer to get warm, and you don't want the steaks to curdle. So,
I thought it was a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
And tasty. But those, these are the things that I think a lot of folks, how often nowadays do we even get the opportunity to experience something like that, to know it? There's things that we can think and there's things that we can know, but it takes experience to do it. But how many times are people going to be in an environment? It'd be like the whole damn country of New Zealand would have to go out for it to be a similar size thing. Imagine if the whole country lost power, how different that would be for everyone for a few days.
Oh, that wouldn't even be a state. That wouldn't even be a state in America. New Zealand, it's only got like 5 million people.
Okay, yeah. So what we had as a power outage would go beyond.
Oh, yeah.
But the feeling would still be there. Like if your whole country went out, then you would have got the same feeling I did.
Yeah, but here in New Zealand, when you go into the middle of the bush, it's great. I haven't done it for years, but I might do it again before I die. I might not.
That's one of the blessings about Alaska. Is that, granted, I'm in Anchorage, but 20 minutes in any direction, you're in the middle of nowhere without a cell signal.
Yeah. I tell you what, I've seen quite a lot of shows, like how when they're selling Alaska and that sort of thing, they sell people houses. It's all made up in that. But
it's total shenanigans.
Scenery,
yes.
Yeah.
The scenery is beautiful. The stories are so bogus.
Yeah, but some of the houses that they show, I'd love to live there. Wow. But the only downside to some of the houses, they're beautiful and they're big, but the toilet outside, 100 feet away from the house, and you've got bears roaming around.
Yep. Yep. I hate that. I've done that before. I've been in remote camp environments where I just wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you just forget. Like you wake up in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden, you're taking a leak, and then all of a sudden, like, you dawns on yourself. You're like, I didn't even look for bears. I'm out of my mind. What am I doing? And then all of a sudden,
That reminds me of your story when you had to fix the toilet or something up in Alaska.
Oh yeah. Yes, that was actually the same location, and why that I had to go. Yeah, we had an outhouse, But
I laughed at the moment.
we had a ripping storm come in, and the guy that I was with, let's just say that he had a history that made him known to be an extremely dangerous man, not a man to be trifled with, so to say. And we were in different tents, and we had a storm that I thought was going to kill us that night. Like, I thought the tent was going to blow off, everything, you know, rough night. Wake up the next morning, and he just taps on my door, knock, knock, knock. And he sounded like Sling Blade. And he just goes, "Outhouse blew over. That's a plumbing problem." And I said,
fix it, bitch.
"Yeah, I'll go, yeah. I'll go fix it."
Yes, I would too.
Yeah, I know my role.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, you know, life is very interesting, and it's all these different experiences that we have that I guess give us the flavor of life and a taste for things that, you know, other people haven't seen. And this is why I love that we can have these conversations, and I know that the conversation that we had today is gonna connect with some people somewhere, because it's at this stage of the game I almost can't put anybody on the air where, you know, eventually the conversation comes to something where people are like, that meant so much to me, and when he said this and when he said that. And I just I want to thank you for coming on here and sharing so much with us today, because you are you're a fountain of information, and I mean, this is just one conversation. I feel like we're touching lots of tips of icebergs.
Yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the hardest part I've found, and this is the part I don't like, is everyone's got their own filter. I like that bit. But when you have an experience, and a lot of experiences that humans have, unless the human that you're talking to about it has had a similar or same experience, there's no reference.
Right.
And they can't go in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, that's why I say you have to have the dialogue, you have to have the meaning,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the use of it before we can manifest it into things. And this is one of my jobs. One of my jobs is to get some of them terms out there, get some of them ideas out there, so people start thinking in the right direction.
Yep. That's where I go with that whole 80-20 concept that I pump out there, is that, you know, 80% of your life and mine are the same.
20,
Our 20% are completely like odd and specific to us. But more often than not, I don't have any expectation of my 20% matching someone else's 20%. But what I want them to do is be comfortable in sharing theirs, as I am with sharing mine, so that even as different as they are, like maybe 99% of your 20% is different from mine. But if you never talk about it and I never talk about it, then we'll never find out that one little thing we have in common. And if nobody's talking about their oddness, then we're deluding ourselves as to what's really going on.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing about life. If you learn something and it's beneficial for your own species, if you don't share that, you're just as culpable.
Yes.
As the person who holds it back intentionally, malevolently. Yeah.
Yes. I see this in nature. I love copying nature, because like Nikola Tesla, Victor Schauerberger, these guys, they taught us a lot from copying what we see in nature. As a species, if you watch ravens, when ravens find food, they could just simply eat all of the food, but they don't. They vocalize, and they let everyone know that I found a food source, because it's like you said, that's the benevolent thing to do. If they didn't do that, they wouldn't be around. They have to look out for each other.
Well, I love birds, and I feed the birds here all the time, and even the sparrows. One sparrow will turn up, he'll grab a bit of bread, he'll go away, but within 5 minutes, there's 50 sparrows out there all eating the bread.
Yeah, they must be communicating to each other.
Oh, that's the other thing that the solicitors told me. Everything, here we go, this changed my mind on humanity. Okay? Humanity is not human. Humanity is everything in this vibration. Like,
Ooh.
earthly vibration.
Okay.
Even rocks. Everything has a soul. Even rocks. Everything has a life cycle.
Uh-huh.
Even rocks.
Yes.
We have 99. Well, sorry, we have 100% of the earth in one drop of our blood. That's why the ETs want our DNA so bad, because they can replicate an earth using our blood. Because we have
Wow.
every animal that's ever been here and every animal that will ever be here in our DNA.
That's a big thought. That's a big thought. I like that.
They told me that.
Whew.
Mm.
So
That was one of the things they told me when I went on that big mission, when I was trying to say no.
So
and they were telling me.
we're like the total package for info in a way.
No.
Huh.
Well, as Alex Collier said, the A's, the Arcturians, call us gods, little gods.
Wowzers.
You know, we're royalty. They call us royalty. We are the royalty of the universe.
Hmm.
We're just infants. We're babies. We're still not cooked yet. I call it cooked. You know, not cooked yet. We're still circulating.
Still brewing.
And I think that's got to do with that compression and expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we get through that compression and that expansion, could be a month, could be 6 months, could be 10 years, could be 20 years. Like Armistice said in 2004 that a certain group is going to let a pathogen out, and they're starting to inoculate people for it now.
Mm-hmm.
So it has the best outcome for the elite when they release this thing. Okay? And Armistice said in hypnosis, he said that by the time it happens, our consciousness would have raised enough that over 99% of the people are going to survive. Now that's in the book Conversations with Armistice. If anybody wants to check it out, you can read the first 2 chapters on Amazon. It's called Conversations with Armistice. ARMESIS. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to buy the book. Just read the first 2 chapters. You know, like I don't make any money off this book. It's not my book. It's about me.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not my book. But that goes through a lot of the. That was one of the prophecies that Armistice gives me.
Yeah, it seems like we're in the throes of that one potentially.
We're going to make it through this just fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one thing you need not to do.
10-4.
I can't talk about it here.
Everybody just needs to keep their wits about them.
Yeah, keep your wits about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Be your own sovereign integral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I keep thinking in my head too, like this too shall pass is the way that I'm trying to look at it.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine the minds of men collectively can tolerate this much longer.
Well, you can see they're not.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to look at alternate places to find out millions and millions and millions of little rats running in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to put it without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Beautiful rats. You know, love these beautiful sentient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
yep.
just like at a Western we come here because we're on latitude. So it's scary. Are you on YouTube?
Say that again?
You're on YouTube?
Oh, we are. No, we're currently right now. We're live on the website. Is that what you're getting at?
Oh no, but you're on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, I have yes, Deciphering My Experience channel on YouTube.
I've been keeping it really PG because You put it on YouTube as well, so they.
Oh yeah, we got it covered. You're doing an excellent job. Yeah, it usually, like, I mean, I do have the website, so we're going live right now on the website technically. So that's always fantastic, first and foremost, so people can hear what they want to hear. And then, I mean, depending on the conversation, you know, sometimes, you know, I know with the guest that's coming on that it's going to be definitively that the topic can only be on the website, right? But then there's other times where it's like I can kind of just let the conversation run. And if it steers clear enough, I know it'll also be acceptable on YouTube. And this one seems perfectly fine to make it both ways.
I'm trying to keep it PG for YouTube, but if we do another one, I might, if we decide to do another one sometime in the future.
Yes, absolutely. If you want, I can absolutely, if we want to do a website exclusive one where because that's basically why I have the website, is so that when the time is right, that I can speak completely freely. So not every guest requires that. So I guess technically right now the YouTube crowd is larger. So I enjoy trying to disseminate the information to the larger crowd when I can. But if it's information that's going to be verboten right off the bat, then I just stick it right on the website.
There's two people I'd love to get in on the chat. Not saying that it happens, and I don't care if it ever does. Mm-hmm. Mr. Warner.
Whom?
John Warner? No.
Oh, John Warner. I'm not hearing you. You're not facing the mic.
Oh, sorry, John Warner.
Warner.
And the one you had on the other day.
Dennis.
He clicked me. I clicked with him. Right.
Same here. Yeah, Dennis. I really enjoyed talking with Dennis. He wants to do a lot more stuff, believe it or not. So that's perfect. Dennis already told me, he's like, I want to talk more. I want to be on the channel. I want to do stuff. I want to talk. Let's do this. And I was like, no problem, Dennis. So yeah, he wants to chat more. I could probably have both of you guys on.
Yeah, right.
Do like a nice round table.
Yeah, humanity's at a point where it can only go one way, and when it's all over, there's only one way to go, and that's the way you choose. Mm-hmm. You can only go the way you choose. You can't have lived a life drinking red stuff, killing and doing bad things to little things.
Correct.
And the only way you can go is the rehab route. Yeah? Or with they'll fix you or scatter you, one of the two. Yeah. Whereas if you're 49 to 51%, 49 to 50% good, yeah, you've still got a good chance of making it. Or 40 to 50% good, you've still got a good chance of making it. But you're 51% good, you're in already. You've got a job. And humans, and you can turn right at the end. That you've got to give yourself enough time to give yourself, and you've got to believe it within yourself. These beings know, right? They can read you. Okay? They know if you're faking it or you really, really, really want, or really, really have changed inside. They feel it. They know you've got a love vibration and the frequency. But a little story. Just before we go. I was taken out 2.5 years ago. Okay. It was the mantids were there. There was a grey there, type being, but a good grey, and another being. More like a bird, but it wasn't, like a blue avian type. Like, there's lots of bird beings. The biggest phenotype out there is humanoid or hominid, right? The second biggest phenotype out there is avian. So when you hear Corey Good talking about the blue avian, right? Because they're not even really avians, they are corporeal beings that can become anything they want. They're the Ra. Yeah, I know all about them. Right? So there's a whole heap of different types of bird beings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were here, and I got flashed straight onto a ship. Yeah. And they said, right, you're coming with us. And I was treated like a prisoner, like a slave. I know what it's all like. Yeah, when I was taken for about 30 years, and then brought back 3 days later. Like a good guy. They take me into this room, and it's someone we know. We all know, right? The American. He's laying on this bed, dead. And they said, he's made it to the 5th in the 3rd body. This should not happen. We cannot figure it out. We can't see what's happening. We need your eyes to look at it. You have to do it. That was like, yeah. And I got the telepathic thing in my head because it was all telepathic, right? If you can't do this, you're not going home in your bed. So I opened him up. The whole toxic all my life, you know. And this is why I've got an affinity with the dead, I think. And I've seen this thing inside him. Now, we know jellyfish. Do you know jellyfish are immortal?
No.
Do you know what jellyfish will? A jellyfish will not, if it doesn't get eaten or squashed or killed, it will not die.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna every part of me right now is like, when I get off, I have to corroborate this, John.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
It's not well known.
Okay.
That this thing was a cross between a jellyfish and a 3rd dimensional squid up its arse. Right? And it was stuck in here. And like these beings that float around, they call them critters, that float around outside in our
upper atmosphere.
Upper atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're immortal as well because they're made of the same stuff as the jellyfish are made of.
Wow.
So what they've done is they genetically altered it in space. This is what I got from it, and they put it into somebody, and then shot them off into the 5th dimension. Right?
Say that again.
It's a politician.
Oh, gotcha.
A U.S. politician. He's not here with us anymore.
Okay.
Okay. And it was the same time he died that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
His name's John.
Fair enough. That's kind of what I was guessing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I pulled this thing out, and they were so glad because they figured out how they were doing it. That they were getting them into the 5th, but they weren't living. They'd get there and they'd have a heart attack and die very quickly because they're not supposed to be there. See, the frequency won't let them. The AI or whatever's controlling this great big experiment won't let them. They put me, and they said, thank you for that. And for that, they let me remember everything, faces, what was said, what was happening. Since 2.5 years or whatever it is, since it happened, since Johnny Boy died, yeah, was within days of that, right? Since Johnny Boy died, I've lost a bit of it, but they let me remember everything. Bang, 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 and let me know that they were going to kill me if I couldn't, because they knew I could do it. They thought I didn't want to do it.
Right.
Because when someone takes me out, I go in defense mode, so I don't know them, and I didn't know this group. But they made me do it, but they were the good guys, but I was scared.
I got you. I can follow that.
Yeah. And they're trying to use technology and biotechnology to get us so we can sit through the veil and get there unnoticed. Cheating. It's like not going to high school or not going to college, signing up for college, not going a day, going on the last day and picking up the certificate.
I got you. Yep.
That's what they're stopping. And
Yes, I could totally follow that. Mm-hmm.
But because they didn't know what they were looking for, and this was astrally, because I was in the 5D real plane. I was out of the astral plane. When they pull you out of your body in the astral plane, if they take you to 5D, you become solid. That's something a lot of people don't know as well, right? You become solid there. You're killable. You can still die in the bed, but it's really hard, right? But if they shoot you with a ray gun that disintegrates you into dust, you're in. Yeah? Yes, they just let me remember it all because they were so great. The feeling in the room, because it was all telepathic, was just panic. Yeah? Because if they can get one through that can live, this is a problem. But when we found out what was doing it, it was just elation. It was like a party. And I was back in the bed.
Wowzers.
Yeah. And that's just one of the many things. Pine Gap, pharmacists come and got me and took me to Pine Gap. Whoa, man. And I was on Facebook at the time. This is way back in Facebook days. And I haven't been on Facebook for about 45, so 12, 13, 14 years since I've been on Facebook. And I'll be talking to someone about something, and then this fella I was friends with in Yugoslavia. No. After this, around Yugoslavia.
Who's this?
Where was that war? What was the war? The Balkan War, where the genocide and all that happened.
The Croat one.
Serbian. Yeah.
Serbian Croat.
Yeah. He was Serbian, but he was in the army. Yeah, but he was in the foreign technology department in the Serbian army. Flew across to America quite a bit. Met Clinton, one of them guys. Deep Dark Black Project. Yeah.
Okay.
He liked my stuff, and what I was talking about on Facebook, because I opened the page, alien abductions and other paranormal phenomena. Yep. It was something like that. That was the group I made. And he joined the group, and I'd be talking to someone else, right? PM, what do you call it? Like personal messaging them. And he'd jump on the side and start talking about the same stuff we're talking about, but he had no clue out. He reckoned he came from the sun. Okay. He showed me all his pictures. He showed me all his pictures in his army and the people he worked for and some classified stuff and shit like that. He emailed them. Yep. And I told him about this going to Pine Gap. And he said, so it was you. And then cut off. That's all I got. Typing. So it was you. And I told him I'd been there and I was with Armistice and all that. And 3 weeks later, I didn't hear from him for about 3 weeks. 3 weeks later was, why are you not dead? You should not have been there. You should be dead. And I said, I've got a lot of protection around me, mate. And he said, yes, you do. He said, I know the story. I know about the breach. He said, you should be dead. What? I'm going, what? It was an out-of-body thing. But apparently they can tell if you're there out-of-body. He said. But because of Armistice, because he's so high up, he shielded the show. Let's see. You know what they're doing there?
I don't. Pine Gap, I'm not too familiar with. I just know that it's a really shady location.
Well, apart from it being a vacation spot for ETs, it's a bad one. Yeah? TR3Bs.
Oh, okay.
The parts are made all over the world. The last bits put together in India. Then they're flown down to Antarctica to get checked over. And then they go anywhere in the world. You see them going up and down here all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've got so many UFOs that it's a shit camera. I've got a $39 New Zealand dollar
Mm-hmm.
infrared camera. It's very pixelated, right? So it picks up the UFOs really good. I've got a few triangle ones going down and coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
They go down this way, and they go down to Antarctica, and they come back up this way, going back to America.
Nice.
If they're going back to Europe, you can see them coming from this way across. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but yeah, that he freaked me out. I nearly stopped everything after he said that.
Mm-hmm.
I scared me for about a month, and then I thought, well, after a month, if they have forgot me, I mustn't be too much of a threat. I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of laugh at all the folks that they're like, well, if you can't say that or you'd be dead or blah. That's if you think I'm on the losing team.
Yeah, but it wasn't,
if I'm on the winning team, I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, it wasn't him telling me that I should be dead. It was who he was telling me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do actually, because it's sometimes it's in a way when people are like almost patting you on the back for being alive. It's actually a veiled threat.
Yeah. So this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got gun runners as friends. His house. He still wants. He said anytime I want to come over, just get hold of him. I haven't talked to him for a couple of years now because we used to email each other a little bit. But his house is like a bloody mansion, like them things like you're talking about, you know, with the gold pets and the big Olympic swimming pool in his backyard.
Yeah.
And
houses where you walk in the main lobby and you can fit your friend's house in the main entry area.
I know, yeah. 2 houses in the bloody entrance, yeah. He was one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, he was really rich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one stage there, when I had a bit of money, he was going to get me a Audi R8 for €12,000.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new Audi R8 for 12. How can you get a brand new Audi R8 for €12,000?
In New York, we say it fell off the back of a truck.
Exactly. Yeah. you know how much that was? Probably about 2012, 2014, maybe 2014. Back then, here they were $320,000 a year.
Wowzers.
And he even had it. He even had it. He showed me, and he said, "If you want to do this, to sign a contract, you don't pay me until you receive it."
To pay you, and what was that?
He said I didn't have to pay him until I received it.
Oh, got you. Mm-hmm.
So he was genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had to sign a bit of paper to say that it was mine, and it comes to customs, and all that. He'd fix everything up, and then I paid him when I changed my mind. I thought, no, it's still a bit. What if it's stolen? You know, if it's dodgy, if someone's been murdered in it.
Yep, totally understood. Yeah, it's what are they?
People are coming in your life, freaky. Like
I always like the term.
Know exactly what you're doing.
Watch out for.
Why did he know exactly?
Watch out for Trojans bearing gifts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. That's one of the other reasons I just never ended up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was my handler on Facebook because I was putting a lot of I was putting a lot of out there stuff at the time. It's not so far out there now, but like back then it was out there.
Totally understood. Yep.
Yeah.
The times are changing from what people will converse about. I remember just a few years back, I was a lunatic for saying 9/11 was an inside job.
I knew day one. I was laying in bed when it happened. It was 7 o'clock in the morning New Zealand time. I was about to get up for work. I was laying in bed. We had TV in the room. And she was out watching the news, getting ready for work. And she said, turn the news on, there's terrorist attack. I looked at it, no one. And they're doing replays of it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got out of bed, it was about 8:30. Because I didn't have to go into work until late that day. I think I was lunchtime shift. So the time I finished watching the reruns, I'd already come to the conclusion that it was an FF.
Mm-hmm. Too
Same day.
coordinated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coordinated.
Jeez. Well, John, I think we kind of ran the gamut today.
I think we ran a little bit over.
I think we've touched on almost every damn topic on the planet at this point.
I don't know. I don't know what I've got next. You know, like.
Oh, I know. It's like there's so much stuff to discuss, and I like these conversations, and I love that we can run around. But it's like it's still so funny because now even I'm like looking, it's like we're just passing 3 hours, and there's still a million more things we could discuss and get into.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain thing I do on purpose, and I got told by Armistice to do it actually.
What's that?
Is before I go on talking to anybody about anything, empty my mind, don't think about it, and just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it always works. It's just, there's no point in it. The one or two times where I have got into a bit of a kiss with myself, because I don't think I know what, one person wanted to talk about it, the CT, and I'd had interactions with the CT, but I didn't know that much about it. And then all of a sudden, I think it's Armistice coming in, he's me. He's my higher self. I think. Right? That's down the line, but he's gone, got rid of all of them, and he's talking straight to me since I died. Mm-hmm. I think that person on the left, remember I said I was going, that's why I was going with that tunnel. When I was about to go up the tunnel and someone on the left said, hey, come over here, basically. We can send you back. Do you want to go back or do you want to go? That was Armistice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. He's the one who saved me that day. So I think he saved me on the day, he helped me on the day with the, that's why I brought up the jellyfish, squid / jellyfish. Just because he helped me that day too. But yeah, life's strange to some people get through life and never have anything. My oldest brother, because obviously my mother was 2 times as well since she died. But my oldest brother, he says, how come you got it all? How come I got nothing? I don't know, mate. You would want it. You really, really would. Because 60% of it is shit. I ain't lying. If anybody said to you, this is all roses and great, 60% of it is total hell shit. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Another 30% of it is shit, but good for life lessons, and 10% of it is over the top, and then it's shit because you don't want to come back and they make you come back. It's not a good life. It's not a good life where you have to be bloody strong. You have to be a really, really, really strong person to handle what people like us handle and have to remember. Like, secret space program stuff. I was talking about the secret space program in 2004 before it even came out through it's all in the book. But, as I say, I don't make off the book, so I don't care if you want off it, but I do like Terry. So I can make a couple of dollars off it. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was talking about the secret space program before it was even mentioned. Mm-hmm. But I don't care. Because this started with me big time in the 80s, really early 80s. My brother and his wife wanted to throw me in a mental home because I was coming out with all these stuff that was happening to me. Mm-hmm. Marks on my body, and boy, you hurt yourself. You get that bad, you hurt yourself. No, something's coming for me. And then the kicker, the big twist at the end of it all, mm-hmm. They turned up for her. And they did her shit. And guess what? She is now a mental patient. I don't mind yet, right? 3 to 6 months of the year she spends inside a mental hospital. And the other 3 to 6 months of the year, my oldest brother, he's an ex-miner, there in the coal mines in Newcastle, Australia. He looks after her and makes sure she takes her medication so she's going to sleep out.
Mhm.
That's what happens when they come to a weak mind.
I can totally follow that.
That's why you don't wish for this sort of life.
I agree with
You
you.
are strong-willed, strong-minded. It will bite you. It's nearly 3 or 4 times.
That's one of the things that I talk with Penny Bradley about sometimes, is how
Oh, yeah,
how
yeah.
ridiculous it sounds when people, like, when you're discussing this SSP stuff and they're like sitting there pie-eyed and like desiring it. Like, wow, that sounds so cool. I wish I could do that. And you're like, are you hearing me? It's not cool. It's not fun.
Well, like the ship that I went on. There was this big auditorium there. There was this huge window, huge, and down a big hallway with doors on both sides. It was the domicile area of the slaves, but it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But you were still a slave, yeah. And there were thousands of doors. So it was big. This ship huge that I was on, that I got rescued on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a lot of that without hypnosis from the early days. And then I get the cockroaches take me out of body. That was freaky.
I can imagine.
Um,
Yeah, the whole bug stuff to me would be bad. I'm not a big fan of the bug aspect.
Yeah, they're mining the rings of Satan.
I've seen some interesting videos about the devices that they show maintaining the rings.
Yeah, they're maintaining as well as mining.
Mm-hmm.
And I was friends with Donald Marshall. Have you heard of Donald Marshall?
Mm-mm.
He talks about cloning and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a lot of ET experiences as well. I told him about the cockroaches, and he said, what? They didn't eat you? There's another fellow. He said they didn't eat you, and I said, no, they were quite friendly. And he said, were you there in person or astral? I said astral. And he said, you know that if you're there in astral, they can pull you through bodily wise and then eat you. And I said, no. He said, don't have anything more to do with them. He said, they were really friendly to me. They showed me around the ship and showed me how things go and what they were doing. And he said, no, but they've never taken me again. So
Mm-hmm.
There's all these things that happen in your life that, like you think you're going to die. Starting to warm up, and I've got the heater on, so it's turn it up. It's getting cold here in the day now.
Fired up.
Yeah, oh no, I'll just turn it off because it's cold. The amount of times in my life when I've been in a situation out of body when I didn't think I was going to make it back. The time when I hit the wall and I was dazed. I felt like dazed trying to get through this wall. And it wasn't until I gave up that I went back in my body and I was gone 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But it felt like I was going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're going to die. The amount of times I'm not scared of this.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of time I've given up and said, right, I'm ready to die. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Especially on the astral. I mean, the astral, it's like you might as well be as bold as you can imagine. Literally. The more you can imagine boldness, I think the better off you are in the astral.
Yeah. That's right. And the other big lie that they tell you, right, and especially they start this one as a kid, right? If you're in a dream and you're falling and you hit the bottom, you will die.
Right. That's not true.
Right? No. Hit the bottom. Hit it. Hit it. Hit it and hit it hard. Because the harder you hit the bottom, the better and quicker you wake up. That's what it wants you to do. It wants you to hit the bottom. It's a lie. It wakes you up. It awakens you. If you're in a dream and you're falling, hit the bottom. Hit the bottom with happiness. Hit it with glee. Because the happier you are when you hit the bottom, the quicker you wake up.
Good insight. Mm-hmm.
It's true. And they lie to us about a lot of things.
I can actually, when you're saying this, like I can remember as a kid having dreams of falling. I can recollect that part. But I can't in my head recollect the impact. So I wonder if I was resisting at the time.
What it's actually doing, it's actually getting you used to astral
Mm-hmm.
and it's also opening your pineal gland more. And when you hit the bottom, that is the connection with your pineal gland with the rest of your electrical
Mm-hmm.
conduit, those encounters. And that's why it happens a lot to young kids. They're connecting to your pineal gland, the universe. The universe is connecting to the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm. Good. See, now we even got tidbits of advice. How to handle the astral realm.
Yeah. Oh, the astral realm is beautiful, wondrous, and mostly safe if you follow the simple rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the simple rules are basically pure unconditional love, no anger unless it's called for. Sometimes it's called for. And treat everything with respect.
Mm-hmm.
But always be wary of the service to self.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think people definitely need to be more service to others.
Yeah, but Munro goes into it better.
Mm-hmm.
If you get any Munro book, he's got it in all of his books.
Mm-hmm.
What to do if you end up in the astral. Yeah, so I've been doing it since I was little. They were coming and get me, and the fishy people.
Mm-hmm.
They had like sort of like a okay, it was fish. It was human. They were human, but they were fish scales, web fingers, web toes, and gills were right here.
Mm-hmm.
Under here. Yeah, and you can see them, and they've got like three. I remember the 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love 3 as a kid. Three. I remember that. Yeah, and the gills go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Hmm.
And that take me around. I'd go to school and I'd learn shit. But whether I was underwater or whether I was on a ship, because I could have been on a aquatic ship. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was too young.
What was the last part again?
It was all freaky.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but good for a little kid who didn't know any better. It was like Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's the best thing I could, closest thing I could. And it was fun.
Yeah, when you're lucid and controlling stuff and everything's functioning great, it could be a blast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as I say, these people who wish for certain things, yeah, there's certain things that are attainable for 99% of the people,
Mm-hmm.
but there's certain things that's not. And I've broke through a couple of them, and I've lived to regret it. You know, but I got some good guys that got me back, and they always pull me back. You know, I've done some bad things.
It's always good to have peers.
Yeah, and you know, I've done nothing that can put me in jail, but well, I have, but like nothing like murder, rape, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking the odd wrong type of drug and drinking while I'm drunk, driving while I'm drunk in the past. Yeah, I've done that, but that's about the extent of my smoking up with the weed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about the extent of my things against the law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I've got nothing really big to worry about.
I've always found that I was exceptionally fast.
Yeah. Just intoxication.
Mm-hmm.
When we were
I
young,
I always mess with people, you know, because like, you know, we're adults now, you know, and everybody's, you know, always trying to hide their criminal records and stuff from people, you know, as if I'm super judgmental. And lots of times it always comes out, and you know, people eventually be like, you know, I got a past and this and that, and you know, blah blah. And I go, listen, the only difference between me and you is I'm apparently faster.
I remember back in the days when we were still in high school and we used to ride in the bush, our motorbike,
Mm-hmm.
and there was the local cop in West Walsend Police. There was 2 cops, West Walsend Police, and a little old house that they turned into a cop station. And we used to go riding around on our motocross bikes around the road looking for him, and he'd he'd find us and chase us in through the bush. And one day he caught me, and I feel bad because later that day he was called a robber and he was shot and killed because he took my name down and I had to go and see him tomorrow because he was in the process of booking me and going to put me in the car and take me down and book me.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a thing over his radio saying robbery in progress, blah blah blah, and he got shot and killed.
Damn.
And I never went back, never heard nothing back.
That's wild.
I wonder if he hadn't been pulling me out and been somewhere else. If he got there a bit earlier, a bit later, he'd still be older. You know?
Yeah, you can what if life you can what if life until the cows come home.
Until the cows come home.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, that'll get you nowhere. That's just a life of regrets.
That is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Oh, I suppose I better let you. We've been going what 3.5 hours.
Yeah, damn near close to it. Yeah,
yeah,
I probably got to start prepping some dinner. But John, I do really appreciate all the time that you gave me today. I do look forward to talking again, and I'll absolutely reach out to both Dennis and John and see what their availability is and see if we can have some sort of common communication. Could be fantastic.
Yeah, the perfect day for me is every second Friday from today, right? But I can come on like at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, like I don't work, so I can have a sleep through the day.
Okay.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll check with all the other folks. I believe, if I remember correctly, they are both on the east coast of the U.S. here, so they're 4 hours off from me, which actually puts them on the same time as you, but a different day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are you guys are like just 24 hours off from each other, but at the same time.
Yeah, I'm in the future. Yeah, that's when the paranormal mailboy is, hey, here's John from the future. Yeah,
there you go. All right, John. Well, I believe you don't have anything to plug other than the book that Terry wrote, correct?
I don't sell much.
Right. I mean, so yeah, so you just like that's all you got is.
I'm only. People say, oh, the ego. If I was in it for the ego, I'd be doing this non-stop, plugging it. I'm here to do a job, and if I find someone that I'd like to talk to, I talk to them.
I appreciate being on that list because I know you and I. This is the first time we've spoken like this ever. Usually it's just typing to each other and stuff like that. And I've always enjoyed our exchanges and found you supportive and informative. So thank you very much.
You're one of the most truthful onto it, finding themselves a person that's had funny things happen to them that I've talked to in a long time, apart from the boys from Paranormal Now. The other person I'd love to have a talk to is Tony Rodriguez.
Oh, yes. He's an amazing person to converse with. I've chatted with him a few times on air, and I've chatted with him a bunch off air as well. Tony's he's a really amazing spirit who's very kind-hearted. Yeah, he's genuine. I get this it's a feeling inside when someone genuine comes up to me. Do you know what I mean? Yes.
And it doesn't happen too often. I mean, totally genuine.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, Tony's an impressive person to me because I feel that he is absolutely doing what he thinks is right. And I don't think a lot of people actually have that conviction nowadays. Like they'll talk about what they think is right, but to do what you think is right really matters.
Yeah. Well, you take the likes of Corey Good. Okay. Now I like him, right? But I think he's not giving us the whole truth.
I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of his, and since I'm not really looking to slam the guy, I'll just leave it as simply. I'm not convinced that his story is his own. I don't want to say that what he's saying is false.
You got me. Before you start talking, I was going to say I think he has a lot of streaming.
Very possible.
I don't think he's genuinely, how would you put it, disinformation.
Understood. Yeah, I don't know that it's disinformation. I believe the words have there's truth to the statements, but it would be like if I read your book, right?
Yeah.
If no one knew about your book and I took your story, it doesn't mean that the story's not true. It just means it's not mine. And I question whether his story is his.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I don't question it. I'm not convinced that his story is his. He's left me unconvinced.
I've questioned it more than once.
What was that?
I've questioned it more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's his story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sounds like, like Randy Kramer, and you get caught a good story, which is all the fluff and bunnies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
With a bit of interaction, and boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. But then you hear Randy Kramer's story and Tony Rodriguez's story. I know which one I'm going to believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Them two over.
And then just knowing what I know of the ways of the world, some of these stories are being funded, and some of them aren't.
Yeah, yes, you're right. That's where you got it. Yeah.
Some people are making millions, and some people aren't. Yeah. What a peculiar situation. How could it be so one-sided?
Well,
it seems almost unnatural, and by the application of intention. Yeah.
If I put together all the money I've lost through my pursuit of happiness,
mm-hmm.
I don't know what pursuit of whatever I'm pursuing, it's cost me thousands. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands.
Yep.
Do I give a...
Well, it's the trade-off for being an actual truther.
I'd rather... My motto is the truth, no matter what.
I could guarantee that if somebody offers you $10 million to take back all of the things you said, you would not take the money.
Well, funny you say that. We had that. Me and my wife had that conversation about 2 weeks ago. Now, if someone came out tomorrow and offered us millions and millions of dollars for me to say something or take something back,
mm-hmm.
would you want me to do it? She went, no. I said, I would. That's just because I would.
Nice.
I would take that money. I would take it.
Mm-hmm.
If I make money, it's going to be from... if I make big money, it's going to be from the research I've done into cryptos and which ones are going to die and which ones aren't, and from guidance from above that lets me know
mm-hmm.
which ones are going to make it and which ones to buy that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
XRP is one to look at. Even a couple of $100 into it could make a millionaire in the next 2 years.
It could transition. You never know if you pick the right one.
But it might not. It's a gamble. Everything's a gamble.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, you could walk into Vegas and throw some money on the roulette wheel, and that's a wrap. Yep. If you pick the right one. Yep. Excellent. Yep. Well, excuse me. Well, John, I would say let's enjoy the gamble of life together until we meet again.
Meet again.
Absolutely, John. I really appreciate all the time that you had with me today, and keep safe over there. And everybody else out there, thank you for coming and watching. Go to deciphering.tv. Go to Deciphering My Experience on YouTube. Please like, subscribe. More importantly, share. This is the whole point of what John and I are doing, is that this information is meant to be shared. Let everybody know the oddities that we are discussing, that you have, and share them. Thanks for coming, folks.